Recording in progress. Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Good morning, honorable members, and welcome to your meeting this morning. Good morning to the Department of Social Development, the Minister, the Deputy Minister, the DG, the entire team and entities as represented on this platform. And good morning to the support of the Portfolio Committee, the Portfolio Committee Secretary, the Portfolio Committee Content Advisor, the Secretary, and our Portfolio Committee Officer. I would like for us to observe a moment of silence for prayer and meditation before we start our meeting, please. Thank you so much. As will be presented or shown on the screen before us, we are meeting today to receive a briefing from the department on its mandate and the work the department has done in responding to the crisis of statutory rape that is a real crisis in this country. And so we are a part of the department, of the portfolio committees that have been identified by Parliament on the basis of a motion that was agreed to in August 2024, with a deadline of submitting a report to the House in March this year. This did not take place, and because while some work had been done, not all the necessary work, the critical work had not been done, including public participation. So in July this year, this motion was amended and agreed to, with the critical amendment being the inclusion of the Portfolio Committee on Women, Youth, Persons with Disabilities as a lead portfolio committee. So this then meant that this process is being revived, and with the lead portfolio committee being the Department of Women, Youth, and Persons with Disabilities. So in summary, this whole process is divided into two phases, and within phase one, we have two legs to this process. And the first leg was when the Portfolio Committee on Women, Youth, and Persons with Disabilities went on stakeholder engagement in the two provinces of Gauteng and the Eastern Cape. And now they are back here, and each department or each portfolio committee had to do work in this regard. And today we are on leg 2 and number C of leg number 2, which is receiving briefings from our department. And so that's where we are, honorable members, and we, as a lead portfolio committee, we have among us the Honorable Kanyile, who is representing the portfolio committee on women, youth, and persons with disabilities. I don't know whether it is to check that we're doing the right thing or not, but we will hear about that from the honorable member. So, Lindiwe, if you could please take over and do the formalities for us to be formally in a meeting with an adopted agenda, please. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good afternoon to you, Chair.
It's morning.
Sorry, Chair. Good morning to you, Chairperson, the members of the Portfolio Committee, and the Deputy Minister in our presence, and all departmental officials in attendance, Chair. Today is the 12th of November. You've already welcomed everyone. I would want to confirm the following members that are in attendance of this meeting, Chair. We have you as our Chairperson, Member Masango. We have Member Peters. We have Member Ramayila. We have Member Mahato. We have Member Mtsweni. We have Member Abrahams. We have Member Kwabaza, Member Mare, Member Munyai, and also the Member Kanyile from the PC on Women. Those are the members that are present, Chair. In terms of apologies, I've received an apology from the Minister Tolashe, who indicated that she won't be with us today due to the cabinet meeting scheduled for today. But the Deputy Minister is here, Chair. Also to note that Member Abrams will request that she be recused early to attend to other commitments, Chair. Member Thong just joined the meeting while I'm on the platform. Chair, after you have adopted the agenda, the Deputy Minister will proceed to provide an overview. Immediately after that, we'll allow the department to present on its mandate and response to the issues emanating from the public participation relating to the statutory rape, Chair, and then we'll proceed with deliberations from 10 past 10 up to 11:30, and then we'll proceed with our internal business, Chair, to adopt 2 sets of minutes, and then after the meeting, you'll do your closing remarks and meeting will adjourn, hopefully by 12 o'clock. Also, Chair, I want to announce that the Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Women has just joined the meeting. Thank you very much. Over to you, Chair, to proceed with your responsibility. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lindiwe. I would like to recognize the presence of the Honorable Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Women, Youth and Persons with Disability, as has been mentioned. You are welcome, Honorable Chairperson. In this meeting, we are discharging the mandate that you gave us as the Portfolio Committee that is leading this process, this very important and critical process that is actually a crisis in this country. Honorable members, the agenda has been tabled. May I please have adoption of the agenda?
Chairperson, Honorable Mahato. Yes, I hereby adopt this agenda. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Makgato. May we have a seconder of the adoption by the Honorable Makgato?
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Christina. I second Honorable Makgato.
Honorable Chong, Christina Chong is seconding the Honorable Makgato. Thank you, honorable members. So now that we have an adopted agenda, I would again like to welcome the Honorable Deputy Minister, as we now have been informed that he is leading the department today, and I will hand over to you, Honorable Deputy Minister, to give us your overview on this meeting.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Today, the nation is waiting. The country is very concerned about teenage pregnancies, and we find that it is very prevalent in the age group that qualifies it to be called statutory rape. We are aware of customs and practices. We also are aware of human trafficking. And as you know, we are also busy in advanced stage with the marriage bill. There has been amendments to the Children's Act. All of that speaks to, for example, the age of marriage, and we are very concerned about the breakdown in families. There's an urgent need in the country to restore fatherhood. During apartheid, most of the fathers were away from home for 11 months. Children are not growing up with fathers. Mothers have extra responsibilities, and they have a very important role to play. So it has become very important for government to act firmly and harshly with regard to statutory rape, because very often, there has been consent from the tribal authority, from religious authorities, but the law is the law. And we've now taken this extraordinary step to go out to the public to get their advice, to get their wisdom, so that when we proceed to legislation and we proceed to enforcement, we know that we have taken into account the representations made. So I look forward, and the minister is looking forward to the outcomes of the public participation programs, and what the nation feels, what the streets feel, and how government should deal with statutory rape, a very sensitive subject. I know, Honorable Chair, in our young days, when we were courting, you've always heard the remarks, age is just a number. But age is not a number when it comes to the harm that all this cause to young people. And this notion of age is just a number, we hope that in the feedback that we get today will assist us. We would also like to hear what did our kings and queens have to say, because we cannot ignore the views of our traditional leadership Honorable Chair, before we had a parliament, we had kingdoms running many parts of South Africa, and they have been marginalized. They've been always been in the forefront for decades. And when South Africa started with all these new structures, first colonialism, then apartheid, and now a democracy, the traditional leaders have been marginalized, and there is a narrative that we need to change that. And the president is very keen that whatever we do, we consult extensively with traditional leaders, with their chiefs, and also with their subjects. So we look forward to the feedback, and under your leadership, Chair, we hope to plot the way forward. It is my pleasure now to hand over to my department to address you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister, for that. I also was made aware, and my sincere apologies, I was made aware that the Honourable Tong, and she's already adopted the agenda that she joined us during the meeting. So you are welcome, Honourable Tong. Over to you then, over to the department for the presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Greetings to you and to all the members of the Portfolio Committee, and also greetings to the Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Women, Children and Persons with Disability. Good morning, DM. Thank you for your leadership, and good morning also to the members of the EXCO that are sitting with me here. Chairperson, let me begin by indicating that our DDG for Welfare Services, who is the driver in the department of the program to address issues related to statutory rape and all children, is currently unable to attend this meeting because she is running another meeting, which is the 3-day National Indaba on shelters, which is another very critical area of work that the department is busy with. So in terms of the presentation, it will not be her, presenting it by the director who is responsible for child protection in the department, Nelisa Kiso. But before I invite her, I also need to indicate, Chairperson, that the reason I'm speaking and not Ntate Chipale is because he has taken urgent leave and I'm acting in on his behalf. That is why I'm introducing the topic. I will not take a lot of time and space, but rather allow Meneliswa to take us through the presentation. We are responding to the questions that were sent through for the department to respond in regards to how we are tackling the problem of statutory rape. And you will see from her presentation, Chairperson, there's a lot of work that is being done, but the problem remains quite a grievous problem that cannot only be dealt with by this department, but it's an all of government and all of society challenge that we need to deal with. But in our responses, we'll be indicating what the Department of Social Development specifically has been doing and is continuing to do in order to tackle this challenge. So let me hand over, with your permission, to Meneliswa Kiso. Please go ahead, colleague.
Thank you, Acting DG Mama Sibeko, Honorable Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee for Social Development, as well as Chairperson of the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, Honorable Deputy Minister, Honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, Minister in absentia, as well as EXCO, with me in the boardroom. Thank you so much for the opportunity to make this presentation. What I will be covering in terms of the outline, there were a number of questions that were asked, but my presentation will start by giving the contextual background and then followed with the key legislations, the policies and the programs that mandates the department to render services. And also the other question responding on how has the department prioritized in the strategic plan budgets, APP, implementation of the NSP on gender-based violence and femicide. How have we prioritized addressing issues of child sexual abuse, in particular statutory rape, which also falls under child sexual abuse. And also, I'll be talking on how has the shortage of social service practitioners affected services, including reporting of the cases of child sexual abuse and statutory rape. Deliberately including child sexual abuse because children as young as 3 years also get subjected into sexual abuse, as I will be showing the statistics later on. The other question that I'll be responding to, training or guidelines that are in place addressing statutory rape, the referral mechanisms in place, the turnaround time that we work with in when we receive cases of statutory rape and rape, key challenges and key programs in place, the statistics, as well as the impact. The purpose of the presentation is to brief the Portfolio Committee of the Department of Social Development on the mandate of DSD and the responses to issues pertaining to statutory rape in South Africa. Just to give a contextual overview on how, as the department, we approach service delivery. Our mandate is derived from the social protection, which is expressed in Section 9, 10, 27 of the Constitution, and with specific legislations, again, in Chapter 11 of the National Development Plan, which basically supports the principle and importance of democratic values, which is the human dignity, the social justice, and inequality, and equality. And I think I'm tempted to speak inequality because when we look at issues of child sexual abuse, it's actually a manifestation of the inequality that we confronted with as the country and the violation of children's rights, which basically violates human dignity. These values and aspirations in our Constitution require that we take action towards eradicating poverty, addressing the inequalities, limited access to quality services, income support, and create opportunities for development through our comprehensive social security, welfare services, and community development. Because if we take the ecological approach in terms of addressing the social ills in the country, we cannot run away from these three important elements that I've just highlighted: comprehensive social security, welfare services, and community development programs. The NDP sets out a long-term vision and overarching plan for the country to address poverty, unemployment, and inequality. And as we look at that, social protection systems that we have in place are intended to reduce the vulnerabilities that our communities, in particular our children and women, are confronted with, alleviates and ultimately prevents poverty and empowers individuals, families, and communities through a range of social development services. Therefore, the National Department of Social Development is not working alone when we execute this mandate. We have concurrent functions and with provinces, and of course, we also provide oversight functions to the entities that we have, and that is done within the very limited services and the national department that provides, because we also have direct services in place that as the national office we provide, which is the NPO, the adoption services, as well as the implementation of the National Child Protection Register, which is key when we talk about issues of statutory rape. It's frozen. Apologies, Honorable Chair, it's freezing. Addressing one of the questions that has been asked the department to respond to, which is the key legislation and regulations, including policies that the department implements pertaining to mandatory reporting of statutory rape. I will start with the Constitution, Section 28, because it's very key as it indicates one of the key responsibilities that the country has regarding the protection of children, that children have got the right to be protected from abuse, neglect, degradation, and maltreatment. And the Children's Act that the department is the custodian of, we basically give effect to the constitutional obligation. And our Section 110, subsection 1 and 2 of the Children's Act mandates the reporting of the cases of abuse. And the department basically receives the reporting of the cases, either from the community, other professionals or people that are working in the space of children, as well as other government departments. So in terms of the professions that are obliged to report, they are listed in subsection 110, subsection 1. These are the court officials, the correctional officials, the dentist, the homeopath, immigration official, official in the employ of the Department of Home Affairs, labor inspector, legal practitioners, medical practitioner, midwife, minister of religion, nurse, occupational therapist, physiotherapist, psychologist, religious leaders, traditional health practitioners, social workers, speech therapists, teachers, traditional leaders, as I've indicated, or member of staff or volunteer that are in the partial care facilities, including our ECD centers, drop-in centers, child and youth care centers. And we are saying any person working with children in communities, in churches, they must report cases of abuse that they come across. Ward counselors who, on reasonable grounds, all these people, when they come across these suspected cases of abuse, they must report such suspicion in a prescribed form, which is basically a Form 22. How has the department managed this reporting and even prioritized it in terms of our strategic plan, the budget, the annual performance plans, including the NSP on GBVF? As the department, we have prioritized this management of statutory rape through putting an APP target, which basically says, as the National Department of Social Development, we are going to drive the agenda of education and awareness, empowering parents, children, caregivers, and stakeholders on how we prevent and manage and respond to cases of child sexual abuse. In addition to this prioritization in the APP, we have also ensured that we go as national office, exercising our oversight role, monitor how provinces are managing the reported cases, starting with the Form 22. When we look at Form 22, which is also legislated in the Children's Act, we basically say what services have been rendered after the case have been reported to the department. So we assess these files because we want to understand if social workers, including other critical departments, are playing their role when it comes to provision of services after the case has been reported. So we have conducted this file audit as the national department in 5 provinces, These are the 5 provinces that we are also targeting for the educational awareness. Another measure that we have in place is the National Childcare Protection Forum, which we are holding on quarterly basis, where we hold other government departments, the NGOs, accountable on measures that they are implementing to curb child abuse cases. Basically, what we are asking them is that it should not be enough that you have received the Form 22. We must see what services have been rendered, because one area that prompted this file audit, we noted that Form 22s are on the increase, but when it comes to Form 23, which is a confirmation and provision of services on those reported cases, we tend to see, a slide down instead of an equal, approach to say, I received 20 Form 22s, therefore, services that must be rendered and confirmed by Form 23, there must also be 20, but we tend to see maybe 15 or 10. Oh, thank you. I was struggling with the remote, but thanks, Siviwe. Honorable Chair, the other question that we were asked is how has the shortage of social service professionals affected service provision, including reporting provided by the department? As I've indicated that we've got other role players that report to the Department of Social Development. However, I'm going to limit the shortage of social service professionals to what the department is doing. Yes, there's shortage of social workers and child care workers. It does impact on the quality of services provided to children, because we are noting that, as I've indicated, that Form 22s come in. However, we note that at times, when it comes to follow-ups, the assessment and provision of services, those tend not to be adequate because of this shortage. So it does affect even the prevention services, because even when it comes to issues of funding of the NGOs that provide our key flagship program of the department, which is the RISIHA, Community-Based Prevention and Early Intervention, we tend to see that some provinces are not really doing enough in terms of funding those NGOs. As a result, some of them, they do shut down. However, in addressing the shortage of social service professionals, the department developed a bid to National Treasury of 15 billion to try and secure additional funds to employ social workers. Unfortunately, the bid was not funded, and that has got a serious impact even with the implementation of the Children's Act 17 of 2022, which requires establishment of designated child protection units, which would ensure that quality services are provided to children, and we track children from entry into the child protection system up until they exit. Despite the shortage of social workers, the department is hard at work to identify private sector funding, and 2 companies are considering the proposals. What training or guidelines are in place that address reporting on statutory rape as per the provisions of the Children's Act? Our response as the department is that we conduct training across provinces, including the Department of Health as well as Education, on their mandate, because they are mandated to report cases of abuse, in particular statutory rape. We normally say, Department of Education, you are the first one to see that the child is pregnant. As much as we rely on communities to be the eye and report as well. However, Department of Basic Education, when you come across that child, please report to the department, because you are mandated by Section 110, subsection 1 of the Children's Act. Department of Health,
the child comes to you and deliver, but we don't get the profile of those children so that as the Department of Social Development, we can follow up. So our trainings are really intended to empower these two key departments, that is health and education, to report to social development so that we can follow up on that child and ensure that prosecution of perpetrators takes place, because again, Section 110 does tell us that should a perpetrator, should a criminal offense be identified, that an offense has been committed, then the report to the police should take place. Hence, this training becomes very important for us. And we have made great strides in terms of this education. Training of social workers on therapeutic program for sexual abused children, because these children require psychosocial services, including therapy to deal with the trauma that they have been exposed to. There's also guidelines on prevention and response to child exploitation, which we also understand that when children get trafficked, some of them, they are trafficked for procurement of sex, others are trafficked for purposes of child labor. But for the context of this presentation, our child exploitation focuses as well on online sexual exploitation, including issues of ukutwala, because it is regarded as child sexual exploitation, because if parents are struggling financially, they should not see their daughter as a commodity. Hence, our education and awareness as well goes to communities when it comes to child sexual abuse as well as statutory rape. The referral mechanisms that we have in place, the Form 22 that I have spoken to earlier on, it is legislated because it's basically the entry into the child protection system, because we are able to get cases that are reported when that Form 22 has been completed. And the obligation of completing this Form 22, it's by all those people that are cited in subsection 1 of Section 110 of the Children's Act. And then, as I've indicated again, the department has got a standing agenda item in the National Child Care and Protection Forum to strengthen our referral systems and indicate to provinces that please note this is where you are in terms of the reported cases of statutory rape. Therefore, let's look at the analysis of these statistics so that there is responsive programming, in particular prevention programs to address the rape and sexual abuse of children. The turnaround time on the referral of cases and provision of services. Again, Section 110 of the Children's Act, supported by our norms and standards, within 24 hours of the reported cases, because there must be action taken. And the social workers, within 48 hours, they must do the assessment. Within the assessment process, the child must be escorted to medical facility for medical treatment so that the evidence is not lost, because within those 72 hours, the J88 also gets completed by the medical practitioner so that SAPS can be able to put that as part of the evidence. The challenges that we get confronted with in relation to the implementation and enforcement of these legislations that we have across social service practitioners, government departments, what we are picking up, especially when we go through the communities and engage with them, there is really a serious underreporting by stakeholders. As I've indicated that we expect to get the reports from health, we expect to get the reports from the school, which would actually help the department to profile that child and provide the necessary services. And we have now even inserted in our Children's Amendment Act that SAPS must give us even the historical data so that we are able to capture all the perpetrators into our system, because the convictions is with SAPS. Communities as well, in particular mothers, children have told us when we dialogue with them that their mothers are the ones that prevent them from reporting. And it becomes worse if it's husbands, partners, or relatives, or a known figure within the community, because either mothers are afraid of victimization or they are afraid of losing the income if the husband or the partner gets arrested. It tends to be a norm, acceptable in communities by families, that they must accept damages when a child has been violated. And as part of our education, we're saying, please, this cannot be accepted. But these are some of the challenges that we are confronted with. Even our NPA, because when we do educational awareness, we bring SAPS, we bring NPA and other government departments. NPA is also saying that children really stay for long, not coming forward, and they lose the evidence that could assist them in the prosecution of these children. So our education and awareness also emphasizes that please, immediately you are raped, you are violated, talk to somebody you trust, and so that you can be taken for medical treatment. The programs that we have in dealing with the statutory rape, as I've indicated, the educational awareness, the training of social workers on therapeutic program, the workshops that we do with parents, caregivers, including our stakeholders, because we also realize that some of our stakeholders, their reluctance to report is also informed by their fear of court processes, as well as victimization, especially teachers. That's why they tend not to report to social development or even complete that Form 22. So these workshops helps a lot in terms of spreading the message. And I can say, as we see the increase of reporting, it sounds like people are getting the message, because I will share the statistics of how it looks like in the previous years and how now our initiatives of outreach is empowering communities to speak out. The statistics for 2024 on sexual abuse, it's 9,857. That was 2024. In 2025, just quarter one and quarter two, which is very concerning for us, 5,180, and we still have other 2 quarters to capture. And it's really a cause for concern that our children are continuously get sexually abused. This is the statistics, and we started in the year 2023 so that we can show how it is increasing. In 2023, Eastern Cape had 41, Free State 503, Gauteng 1,503, KZN 1,552, and Western Cape 3,000. Because these are the provinces that are reporting mostly to us, the Western Cape, the Gauteng, and the KZN, because I believe their stakeholders are coming forward to report the cases for social development to capture into the Child Protection Register. And in 2024, we saw Eastern Cape 1,192, Gauteng 2,249, and Western Cape 2,800. And then the first and second quarter of 2025, Western Cape with 1,538 and Gauteng 1,050 and KZN 766 and Eastern Cape 682. So this is the picture of the reported cases of sexual abuse. And in terms of the submission of these statistics, I must indicate that we are also getting from the Education, Labor Relations Council, and who submit quite a number of findings through their disciplinary forums. So it helps us to get a picture of the number of children that have been violated, as well as the unsuitability. The impact of programs that addresses statutory rape, these are the programs that we have in place. Men and Boys Championing Change, Yolo and Chomi, Family Matters Program, Sinovuyo Parenting Program, Teenage Parenting Program. Just to indicate that the Men and Boys Championing Change, it tends to change the perception, the stereotypes, and have men and boys as change agents to really speak the message of not in our name, that we will see the violation of girls, but at the same time, for other boys that get subjected to sexual abuse. So the men and boys do have that voice. Yolo and Chomi, those are the social and behavior change programs as well that are intended to empower the children to make informed decisions about their lives so that they don't get themselves into inappropriate sexual behaviors. We have a provision in the Sexual Offences and Related Matters Act, which basically says we cannot criminalize children under the age of 16 who engages in sexual experimentation between the ages of 12 to 14, 13 to 15, or 14 to 16. So if such sexual experimentation happens within the 2-year age gap amongst those children cannot be criminalized. However, should a child of 12 years engage with a 14-year-old or even a 15-year-old and a 16-year-old, that is statutory rape, because it cannot happen that you jump the age gap because of the issues of stage of development as well as maturity, because the issues of coercion should not happen because this age gap is intended to ensure that no coercion happens between these age groups. The Families Matters program is intended to empower families to really do away with this myth and stereotype and traditional belief or cultural dynamic of accepting damages where a child has been violated. So we basically say, families, speak out. Families, have open discussion with your children so that it is not accepted that children get violated. Whether it's incest, it's not acceptable. Synovia parenting program, because these children and teenagers get pregnant. So the Synovia parenting program as well as teenage parenting program are intended to empower the parents to really have parenting skills and care for their children, though they are children themselves. But the Synovuyo is also helping parents to have open discussion and communication with their children about everything in life, so that their children no longer complain to say, our parents are not talking to us, hence we listen to our peers. So the Synovio program helps us, because we believe that when our participants are participating, as we also get feedback from them, that these programs do help them to speak out. which now we also allude to the statistics that I have indicated that as we see the increase, we basically say it means that our education and awareness for speaking out, because people wouldn't be coming forward and reporting if we were not educating them about the importance of reporting. And our toll-free lines, Childline, whom we are funding as the national department and also funded by some provinces, do help us as well to get, the counseling services to these children because they've got counselors on the ground. Our GBV Command Center as well does have that 24-hour response and also link the children, including families, with the local service offices. Thank you, DG. I've come to an end of the presentation with a recommendation that the Portfolio Committee kindly take note of this presentation on the mandate and the response by DSD on statutory rape matters. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mekakiso. Chairperson, this is our comprehensive response to the questions that were raised by the Portfolio Committee. Can I then hand over to you for the questions and comments that the members may have? Thank you.
Thank you, Acting DG. And thank you to Mr. Giso for the presentation in response to the questions that were forwarded on the mandates and what the work that they are doing in response to the crisis that South Africa is facing. I have been informed, and I can also even confirm that this presentation that Mr. Giso has just done is an updated version. And I would like to request that an updated version of the presentation is shared so that the honourable members can have access to it. It is. I would like to thank you for the presentation and to thank the department for having taken this matter seriously. I will wait for the members to engage on this matter. I do have questions that I will ask, because my understanding of a crisis as we are having now is that we continue with the work that we are doing that is mandated by all sorts of pieces of legislations and regulations and so on and so forth, but we step out of a business as usual sort of posture, and we focus on ensuring that whatever it is that we have to do is done on our part, as in this case, the Department of Social Development. I will be guided by the questions and deliberations by the members if they see this as having been that stepping out, as it were. We've had crises in this country. We are not immune from crises, and we've also seen the heightened response by the departments, by the stakeholders, by communities, and even traditional leaders who are custodians of vast communities in this country. But I will open to the members, the honourable members, to engage on this presentation. Thank you so much, Mr. Giso. We appreciate your presentation a lot. Honourable members, I am waiting for your hands, please. Honourable Abrams. Is that the only hand for today? The Honourable Kanyile. You are welcome, ma'am. I did welcome you. I think as a member of the Portfolio Committee on Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, the Honourable Peters.
Chairperson, it's Honourable Chauke Adonis. I'm unable to raise my hand. If you can also acknowledge me. Thank you very much.
Okay, will do.
Honourable Makhato.
Adonis. Honourable Makhato. Honourable Mare. Honourable. That is it for now. I will hand over to you, Honourable Abrams.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, for the opportunity. Good morning to everybody online, all protocol observed, and thank you for the presentation. Chairperson, I'm very happy that you spoke to responses to national crisis, because I was thinking the exact same thing, and I was thinking about our response to the COVID crisis. To that pandemic, and then also thinking about, our responses to GBV and how that is not nowhere nearly where it needs to be, and that we've termed our second pandemic. And now even this crisis, when it comes to child protection, and, we can talk about teenage pregnancy and statutory rape, that's what we're talking about, but it expands to the bigger picture of child protection. And it is not enough, Chairperson. This has not been stepping out and doing, I think, going above and beyond to try and get a grip on the situation. And I remember, during the COVID time, we had our news stations, constantly advertise the number of days we were in lockdown and all those things. And I remember also saying, but why can't we also have our GBV Command Council telephone number, toll-free number advertised to the same extent, or even things like, that relate to child protection, how to get a Form 22, what to do with the Form 22, and all those things advertised to the same extent that we saw during our the COVID and the lockdown. Those communications were daily. It was all over, and I think that is the level of intervention that we actually need right now when it comes to child protection, because otherwise we are going to be having the same meetings every year, and we're just going to see those numbers increase. Chairperson, the one question I do have is if the department, well, I have a few questions, but let me start with the first one. Can the department please provide a detailed report on the audit of the Form 22s and 23s? And, I would expect the finding of that audit report to have been in this presentation, but it was not. So maybe just an understanding as to why that audit report on the Form 22 and 23s were not part of our presentation. And if they can please then urgently send us that report, because, we have been, we have been putting in questions on these Form 22s. And it would seem like prior to this to, other departments, health, education, and it would seem that there is a lack of reporting, but also it seems to be a lack of, what's the word I'm looking for, collating of these forms. And, I also want to then say, Chairperson, we need to start thinking innovatively about how we handle our forms, where we access it, how we report it. And I do think, Chairperson, that if the department looks at ways to almost digitize the reporting systems, reports cannot then fall through the cracks or go missing or pile up paper-wise, and then, we're searching through paper trying to find and collate numerous numbers of Form 22, that if these systems were to start moving to a digital platform, we'd be able to collate the figures better and to see where numbers in certain regions and province are extensively high. And I refer to the one slide where the Western Cape numbers on child abuse seem to be extremely high. It's really shocking. But I look at the numbers in the other provinces, and I am not convinced, Chairperson, that those are a real reflection of the crisis that we are currently facing with. And I recall our public meeting as a committee that we had in Mandini, where the young girl stood up in that public meeting, and she told us that she went to go and report a case of child abuse, suspected rape, to the local DSD office. The social workers didn't take her seriously. She still went back to get more information. And when she went back again, the family had just moved. And the little girl that she was reporting was just gone and disappeared. And I wonder what has ever become of that child. So there are community people out there and people who are reporting, but it would seem that it is somehow landing on deaf ears. And Chairperson, I know it's not every official and every social worker. Many do take these cases extremely seriously, but there are places where these cases are falling through the cracks, and that was told to us by that young girl in Mandini. Then, Chairperson, I also would like to speak on training. Now, yes, it's in the DSD's targets and so forth, training on the various acts, training on the Children's Act, but it's never really specific on which chapters of the Act it's been trained on. And I mean, the Children's Act is an extensive piece of legislation. It's been amended a few times, lots of piecing, and I mean, it's up for amendment once again, which will require more training on the Act, on the amended pieces of legislation. So I would like to request, Chairperson, if the department doesn't have the information now, that they please submit in writing a report on the training interventions that they have taken with other departments like health, like education, on specifically child protection, and specifically on Section 110. Because once again, Chairperson, in a little deep dive and consultation with colleagues in other provinces, there are so many, in particular educators, who feel that it is not their responsibility to report such cases, that it's the family's responsibility, or, you know, even the victim themselves' responsibility, but it's not their responsibility, which then speaks to the fact that they are not aware of the Act. And then, Chairperson, I don't want to take up too much time, but the one question I do have, another question I do have, is a budgeting question. And I would like to understand the budget on child protection when it relates to the funding of our NGOs, the funding of social workers. What does the budget for child protection look like for, and once again, they can submit this in writing, over the last maybe 5 years, because we constantly hear from NGOs that they simply do not have enough money to meet even some of the statutory obligations. They have to do a lot of fundraising. And if we are calling this a national crisis, does the money that the department is committing, the money that Treasury is committing to tackle this crisis, is it then evident that we are taking this seriously? Chairperson, I'll leave it there, and I'll give colleagues an opportunity to also ask some questions. And if there are anything else, I'll submit in writing, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Abrams, for your questions and your concerns. I just would like to acknowledge the hands of the Honourable Reverend Kwabaza and the Honourable Monyai, with a humble advice to the Honourable Monyai that his hand, you can hardly see it. I don't know if he can change the shade so that one is able to see it, but I just, saw it because of the probably glasses that I'm wearing. I also want to welcome and acknowledge, although I've taken a question from the Honourable Chauke Adonis, I don't know, I can't see on the screen if there are other members of the portfolio committee. Yeah, I acknowledge you, Honorable Bishop Msweni. If there are other members of the Portfolio Committee on women, youth and persons with disabilities. And if you are here, colleagues, I warmly welcome you. Although I'm not able, obviously, to identify your names on the screen. Also, I acknowledge the hand of the Honorable Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities. But for now...
Hey, I'm sorry. If you will just allow me 1 second, Chairperson. Good morning to you. Good morning to you, Honorable Masangu, the Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Social Development. Thank you very much for welcoming us, the Portfolio Committee of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities. I am the Chairperson and I'm here with Honorable Kanyile. You have recognized her. And we are also here with the whip of our committee, Honorable Chauke Adonis. So it's the three of us. Thank you, Chairperson.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much for that, Honorable Chair. So now we're going over to the Honorable Kanyile. It's over to you, ma'am.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson, and greetings to you, greetings to honorable members, and all protocol observed. Chair, thank you so much for the welcome into this Portfolio Committee. Chair, I welcome the presentation from the social development. However, I do have a few questions that I want to raise, because I believe that if we want to address the scourge of statutory rape, we need to ensure that it is reflected as such when we are presenting. There was a slide, unfortunately the slide number was not appearing on my side. I'm not sure if the slides are numbered. It spoke to the statistics of sexual abuse. It was a stats on sexual abuse. We're only given the numbers there, but it was not clear if those numbers are specifically for statutory rape, number one. Number two, though Parliament mandated us to go on an inquiry for girls that are being molested or that are being raped, we have picked up during the inquiry in the 2 provinces that we have been into that boys are also molested. So I wanted to find out if the statistic that was presented to us does include boys or it is only girls. And the reason I am asking it is because when the presenter continued with her presentation, there was a slide also where she mentioned that there's now initiatives where they're planning on bringing boys on board as well to ensure that boys are also educated. So I want to find out if they now have the stats of the boys that are affected by this scourge. And going to the issue of reporting, the presenter indicated that the issue of rape must be reported within 24 hours and assessment or the collection of evidence must be done within 48 hours while the evidence is still exists. I want to find out if that is actually happening. Is that the reality on the ground? Are they able to pick up the cases that are reported on time, and are they able to collect evidence within the specified time? And I would also like to find out their working relationship with SAPS, because in the inquiries that we have done, a lot of NGOs, they have expressed their concerns with regards to how they are being received with SAPS in various offices, where SAPS, when they are coming to open cases, will want the parents to be there and refuse to open the cases, and sometimes they will turn them away, citing various reasons and all of that. So far, we, as a portfolio committee, I do believe that we see SAPS as one of the stumbling blocks in us having a breakthrough in terms of resolving the issue of statutory rape within our country. But I'd like to find out the experience that social development has, considering that they're working with the social workers. And I would have thought that in their presentation, they would have indicated the number of social workers that they have, maybe give us some kind of an organogram, also indicating whether they do have social workers that are linked to schools. Because when you speak about statutory rapes, you speak about girls that are still in school, you will expect a social worker that is going to be linked to school. But over and above that, we understand that there is other work that they will need to do outside of statutory rape, and I wanted them to actually display or clarify to us or paint a picture indicating what is the number of strategies that they're actually sitting with in terms of absorption of social workers, as we understand that we have lots of social workers that are trained and are currently sitting at home. I think those are the questions that I have for now, Chairperson. Lastly, Chairperson, during our inquiry, we also established that there is no collaboration between the various government stakeholders, the LTBO, Department of Social Development, Department of Health, SAPS, and other departments as well. That is why also in terms of reporting, you find that the numbers do not correlate, because health will pick up the number of kids that have given birth, or kids or little children that would have come for them for examination, maybe for STI and whatnot. But then these kids, they now do not go to SAPS to report, because most of the statistics that we have seen from SAPS indicates lesser numbers, and the numbers for NPA, they also lesser. So I would want to know if they are aware, if this issue has been brought to their attention, because we've been to Gauteng and the Eastern Cape, that there is a lack of collaboration between various stakeholders, and what can they do to improve on that? Because until there is a collaboration within the stakeholders, I do believe we are not going to be able to win this battle on the statutory rape. I'd like to pause here for now, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Kanyile, for that. I'm now going to hand over to the Honorable Peters, please.
Good morning, Chairperson, as well as to the Chairperson of Women, Youth and Children, and good morning to the Deputy Minister as well, and all protocol observed. Chairperson, from my side, I just want to confirm and see how the collaboration, so I do agree with the previous honourable member on the collaboration. So when they've stated in the presentation that the National Department monitors child abuse cases through audits, right? How do they measure that to see, does it actually lead to arrests, through these monitoring through audits? And then also, if you look at all the programs that's been rolled out, your Chomi, your Sinovuyo, your teenage parent, your family, the men championing change programs, how do they reach all rural areas? Or let's say, how do they roll out and make sure it actually gets to all communities? Is it being measured, and can they then report on that as well? Because it's all fine and well when they roll out these programs, but it only goes to a select few communities, but it doesn't actually reach the communities that it should reach. So I believe there should be reporting of progress, even with those type of programs as well. Thank you, Chair. I'll leave it there.
Honourable Peters, for that. Now I will hand over to the Honourable Shauke Adonis. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. If through you can allow me to keep my camera off.
That is allowed.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Greetings to yourself, Chairperson, and the chairpersons that have joined from other portfolio committees, and honourable members and officials from the departments and our stakeholders. I would like to start off by appreciating the presentation, and I think I echo the same sentiments that have been shared by my previous colleagues who have spoken. In terms of really having an analysis in terms of the data that is collected and perhaps having it segregated. Not only do I have a concern in terms of the segregated data, but we do know that one of the most vulnerable sectors would be children with special needs. where we are seeing high rates of underreporting. We're seeing high rates of statutory rape taking place at schools and also within communities. One would have wanted also, if it is not, and if it is, I do sincerely apologize. What is the segregated data that seeks to say what are the cases and what are the stats for children with disabilities when it comes to statutory rape who have been victims, geographic segregation of data and demographic segregated data. I think that data analysis is quite critical for us to start to pick up on behavioral patterns. Also, in terms of Chairperson, the second one would be on the programs and the initiatives that are being rolled out by the department. Those programs are highly applauded and appreciated, but one wants to see what type of impact are they having. It's one thing to report that we've got your programs such as YOLO, we've got CHOMI program and other programs, but what are the impacts and how are those impacts measured? I think that's quite critical. And how do they measure them against seeing how we are able to, intervene on the issues of statutory rape. My third one would be on mandatory reporting. We're having quite a big crisis with the mandatory reporting. And I think because social development is the custodian of the Child Protection Act, what does the legislation mandate, number one? Number two, with other legislations falling within other portfolio committees and other departments, are these legislations actually corresponding, or is there a disjuncture between these legislations that where you find that the Child Protection Act and one of the other acts do not necessarily speak to one another? Perhaps if they can also give us an overview in terms of the recommendations of legislation in terms of amendments that are to be made, recommendations, inputs towards legislations, and where they have seen that legislations that are currently in place hinder the progress of the work that is to be done. Chair, my other question would then be centered around the social workers, and I'm glad that the honourable members, and I heard Honourable Kanile also mentioning it, that we'd want to know how many social workers are currently active, how many are inactive, and what is the plan of the department on increasing the number of social workers. But also, what is the placement? And I think perhaps it was in the presentation. How many individuals or how many community members are allocated per social worker? And with this, we are also finding that social workers are not reporting cases of statutory rape. What then happens when there is no correspondence between the first initial report and the final report when it comes to issues of child abuse and statutory rape? And also, what are the consequences of social workers not reporting? But I think also social development needs to provide a guideline that speaks to all departments, such as Department of Health, Department of Basic Education, etc., on mandatory reporting. But also there needs to be ramification and there needs to be consequence put in place. So when we speak about, we had a session with the Human Rights Commission, and one of the honourable members mentioned that the Human Rights Commission perhaps should be changed into the Human Rights and Responsibility Commission. And that's one of the elements that I think we are not really emphasizing on the responsibility that members of society, service providers, and different institutions have on reporting these cases. And I think one of the things perhaps social development can indicate, what have they observed in terms of cases that are being withdrawn? What then happens if there is a case that is put forward of statutory rape and then you find a parent who comes and withdraws it? If they can give us what their view and recommendations are and what their findings are on that particular aspect, because we are finding high cases where parents are revoking and cancelling the cases and withdrawing, but there is no consequence for that. Because for me, I view it as aiding and abetting, number one. Number two, it would be perjury. And there needs to be consequences for non-reporting, not only for civil servants, but also for communities and families as well. Chairperson, overall, we do applaud the work that is being done. And this is really something that is dear to us, even as a portfolio committee of women, youth, and persons with disabilities, to really start to understand how do we ensure that the scourge of statutory rape and rape against minors and children must come to an end. My second last question would be the database that is collected perhaps through SAPS and social development. How do they share their database of, for example, perpetrators? I know we wanted the what is this thing called? It has just slipped my mind, sorry, Chairperson, but the records that speak to perpetrators of child abuse, neglect, and sexual exploitation being publicly produced. Where are we currently with that? And how does the department utilize the data and the statistics that they then receive to ensure that we're able to put together a strategic plan that seeks to combat statutory rape? My last one, Chairperson, I think on the visibility, and I think this was mentioned by one of the honorable members. In COVID, yes, she explained that there was so much visibility, there were adverts, campaigns going throughout. Why are we unable to do that? Where's the collaboration with the SABC? Where's the collaboration with GCIS? Where's the collaboration with the Department of Communication and Digital Technology to ensure that the message is constant and continuous? Because once we are consistent with that, it brings more public awareness. It gives more information to the public, and also it provides guidance on processes to follow in order to report these cases, where we are finding teachers, educators, civil servants, and community members not knowing how to go about in terms of reporting. So that's quite critical, and that forms part of the community sensitization and training. Thank you very much, Chairperson, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Adonis, for those questions and comments. We are now going to hear for Mahato. To you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Greetings to the Deputy Minister, members of the Social Development, all honorable members. I just want to welcome the presentation. And then the first thing on my side, I just want us as the Portfolio Committee to note the report as it educates people of statutory rape, sexual offences, teenage pregnancy, assistance of child at risk, and also proper coordination with the stakeholders. So I think on issuing all those things, I think we must note the report. So, and again, the skills, there are about 4 skills were mentioned in the report. So I think even the skills, we can also note the report as the Portfolio Committee. But I also have some questions so that they can also answer the questions to us. Can the department share with the committee how to control this issue of sugar daddies and the sugar mummies, so that we can see, or in future, the issue of poverty, it must just come to an end. I don't know how do they do it, but I just want the department to share with us. And again, how are you conducting educational awareness on the prevention of sexual abuse? Because they said they're conducting educational awareness. So if they can tell us how are you conducting educational awareness on the prevention of sexual abuse, maybe we can have something on the issue of the sexual abuse and others. The other one, how is the monitors of management of the child abuse cases through files audit? Because they speak about the files audit. Maybe if we can get more about the monitoring of the management of child abuse cases. Maybe we can get something. And then the issue of poverty, unemployment, and inequality still is still a problem. I don't know. Maybe they can get something so that the people can get they can get out of poverty, unemployment, and inequality. And then my last question is in these provinces which are not reporting, what must be done to make sure that they report like other provinces? Can we please have that slide? I don't know it's on page, on which page. I just want to speak about the provinces. Can I have that slide of provinces?
Ms. Pagiso, are you able to flight the slide on provinces, please?
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much. So if you can see the statistics, you can see, let's say, Northern Cape, Limpopo. So you can just see, or some of them are not perfect. So maybe if they can just tell us, or what are the statistics on this on this issue, so that in future we must be able to know what's happening. Is the boys, is the girls? At least we must have the understanding on these sexual abuse cases. So I think, Madam Chairperson, I think this is my last question. But as the portfolio committee, I'm saying we must note the report, and thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Honorable Mahato, for that. The Honorable Murray.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. I would like to greet all the honorable members, Deputy Minister, and also all the chairpersons from the other portfolios and members. Chairperson, I'm going to raise a few questions, and I also would like to raise concerns. Chairperson, I was in the meeting on Monday with the Department of Women and Children with Disabilities. And my concern that I'm raising here is that they were speaking about all the stakeholders, all the portfolios that is going to work together, like SAPS, like education, health, and all these things. If we look at our schools, Chairperson, we don't have social workers working in schools anymore. We don't have social workers that is going to see where there's problems. I want to speak about the disabled school in Cape Town, Eros. My sister is working there, and she had quite a few cases where these disabled children were abused by their own parents because the mother and father is divorced, and then the child have to go sometimes to the father to go and visit. And this is very traumatic for the children. And then I would like to find out from the department, we have mentally disturbed children that sometimes people will say they have a very high sex drive. What are happening with these children they cannot express themselves, they cannot say what is going on? Because a lot of teachers, the reason why they don't want to say anything is because they don't want to get involved, they don't want to go to court cases, because they say it's going to take a lot of the time. But at the very moment, what is happening is that, like the previous member was asking about the social workers, we know from the Department of Social Development that we have a crisis with social workers. We don't have enough social workers. There's more than 7,000 social workers that is unemployed. But the social workers are not being used within the schools where they can actually make an impact when it comes to child abuse. Chairperson, and then my question I want to ask, you say on the one end, the one law is not working with the other one, because in the one law they are saying children of the age of 12 years old can have abortion without the parents being there. And in the other case, they are saying that children having sex with a 16-year-old having sex with a 18-year-old, that is statutory rape. So there's some things that is not working, because you cannot say in the one end you're saying children can have abortions by themselves or other parents, but in the other case you are saying it's statutory rape. So what are we saying to the people out there? That is actually a huge concern for me. And then Chairperson, I like to speak about experiences. I took a 10-year-old one night to the hospital, and unfortunately, the place where they assist the children, that is Chapong Center, was closed. And the police told me they will come fetch us the next morning at 9 o'clock. The child couldn't wash, he couldn't do anything. He went through a lot of trauma, but at the end of the day, we went home because no one could assist us. They couldn't examine the child because this Chapong building was closed, center was closed. The next day, the police didn't come at 9 o'clock. The police came 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That poor child had to sit with the dirty clothes he had on the previous day until the police decided. And when he got there, he said, "Oh, I completely forgot about you." That is where we are sitting with the problem, is that the police are not trained to deal with questions of rape. If it is children, if it's male and female, they don't got the capacity to do that. And when you go to the Department of Health, Chairperson, the nurses, they don't have the tolerance, they don't have the patience to deal with patients like this. And that is where we are lacking. Education is very important. We used to have an ad on TV saying, well, the girl is sitting in the dark, and then the creepy crawl is coming out, and then she can go to a payphone to call this toll-free number. We don't have we don't have these payphones outside anymore, where children can go make a call without paying a cent, without anyone knowing that she's been calling for help. We don't have those facilities anymore, Chairperson. So the number one is we're having a crisis with social workers. Number two is we don't have the staff of the police, education, and of health that is trained to assist these patients, these people that went through this horrible rape. And then we are forgetting about the disabled and the mentally challenged children. And yes, boys do get raped, because the case that I was talking about is a boy of 10 years old that was raped. So a lot of times you look at the girls, but you don't look at the boys. We need to have stats about how many boys was abused and how many girls was abused, because the abuse of males are also happening, and we are not taking note about that. We are still with a crisis in our country where even small babies of 3 months old are being raped by their own uncles and fathers. We don't have to look far. Where mothers know that the husband is the breadwinner, the boyfriend is the breadwinner, so the child can be raped over and over. I have 3 cousins that is social workers. They are drinking every weekend because they say they can't cope with the stress anymore, because the mother knows what is happening in the house, but she refuses to do anything. And that child is going through abuse. And at the end of the day, the child go on drugs, and she's doing all the wrong things because she wants attention and not getting it. So we as members of parliament, we as lawmakers, we are failing these children, because like we are saying, there's no education programs running. Schools, teachers are not interested because they are just there to go and earn a salary. The same with the nurses. There's no dedications. There's not a calling anymore. And whilst with this crisis, the only way to get this crisis down is not just by putting up laws, and then the one law is contradicting the other one. We need to come with reasonable solutions of how we're going to address it. I'm very happy that all the departments are coming together now to assist with this thing, but there is a massive, massive crisis, and we need to come out and say how we're going to address this crisis. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Mare, for that. I am now going to ask the Honourable Bishop Msweni to come through.
Chairperson, ngiyabingelela. Siyabonga kakhulu isihlalo ithuba esilitholayo. Sibonga futhi i-presentation enhle esitholileyo. Angazi isihlalo la angikwazanga ukubona ama-page ukuthi u-page bani no-page bani angazi noma imina mhlawumbe benginenkinga ngasohlangothini lwami. Kodwa umqondisi ukhona la akuveze khona ukuthi bayabona ukuthi ukungaqashwa kosonhlalakahle kube nesandla esikhulu ekuthenini isulu ama-victims angalitholi usizo njengoba osonhlalakahle bengabonakali emphakathini yethu. Ngiyafisa sesikhulume ngakho kakhulu, ngiyeza ukuthi namanye amalungu akhuluma ngakho kakhulu ukuthi ngibuye ngikwenze umbuzo sihlalo ukuthi bazoqashwa nini osonhlalakahle ngampela, ngoba kuyabonakala ukuthi umsebenzi wabo mkhulu kakhulu emphakathini. Siyabadinga osonhlalakahle kakhulu. Kade ngizothi mphathi sihlalo umbuzo loyo, kade ngizothi ukuya phambili nempilo abavele osonhlalakahle ezikoleni zethu kusukela emabangeni aphansi bakhuthaze izingane zisesezigabeni eziphansi zokufunda bazenze iqonde umsebenzi kasonhlalakahle. Manje vele nje izingane zethu azimazi usonhlalakahle kakhulu endaweni ezivela kuzo emaphandleni endaweni zethu zakwantu. Izingane azazi ukuthi ubani usonhlalakahle yini umsebenzi wakhe, ngoba akaveli nangesikhathi zona zimdinga zihlukumezekile. Njengoba mina bese ngifisa ukuthi bavelele lento yokuzoveza ubuhle bomsebenzi kasonhlalakahle, ukubaluleka kukasonhlalakahle. Uyacabanga mfakazi sihlalo ukuthi eyindaweni ke isemaphandleni la kude yonke into ne police station ikude nosonhlalakahle abekho, ingane lapha emakhaya njoba kade ilungu engilandelayo lisho ziyadlwengulwa zidlwengulwa o stepfather omalume nobani alukho usizo oluseduze nemphakathi yethu. Manje mfakazi sihlalo sengikhathaza ukuthi njengoba osonhlalakahle bengaqashwa sebetrainiwe, mphathi sihlalo besiku oversight eKZN eMandeni, osonhlalakahle besikhalela ngokuthi batrainwa kodwa abaqashiwe, sebekwi depression bona ke njengoba sebekwi depression bazomsiza kanjani umuntu oku depression ngenxa yalezi zinto zokudlwengulelwa izingane nengane edlwenguliwe, ngoba nabo banencindezi ngokwabo laba abahleli abangaqashiwe. Vele sekufuneka baqale balekelelwe nabo ngokomqondo bengakaqali ukusebenza. Ngiyafisa ukwazi sihlalo ukuthi umnyango uthatha ziphi inyathelo eyinqala ngokuqasha osonhlalakahle abaziwe bavele emphakathini yethu, imphakathi ibazi bayihambele, ngoba uma mphathi sihlalo osonhlalakahle bekhona emphakathini yethu bebezokwazi ukuyihambela imindeni enezingane ezihleli ngazodwa, besibuka isimo ukuthi leza izingane ezikulomuzi ezihleli ngazodwa, ingane endala eno 14 bese kuba yezincane, azizona inisulu zokudlwengulwa umphakathi lezo izingane lezo. Kodwa manje osonhlalakahle mphathi sihlalo abekho, baqashwa nini osonhlalakahle babekhona babonakale emphakathini yethu? Angithokoze sihlalo.
Siyabonga sis, umbuzo wakho. Honorable members and Honorable DM and colleagues, the Honorable Member Mtsweni was greeting everyone and thanking the department for the presentation. And she didn't see the slide number, but there was a slide that was talking about social workers and saying that it is becoming clearer and clearer that the lack or the not appointing social workers has had a contributory adverse effect on the escalation of the problem or of the crisis we are facing now of statutory rape. And she just wants to know when are they going to be appointed, because each school needs to have a social worker, especially in rural settings where she comes from. Children don't even know what a social worker is. So when are they going to have these social workers in these settings, especially because children don't know where to run to or who to run to when they need the help most. Social workers are not appointed, but they have been trained by government. And she then cited a situation where we were on oversight in KwaZulu-Natal, where a social worker stood up to say that she herself is in depression because she feels like there's no hope because she is unemployed. She's a social worker, but she's unemployed, and she herself needs a social worker now because of the state that she is in. And also there are homes that we call in South Africa child-headed households that would benefit from social worker, in these homes, because you find that in this home there is a child of 14 years old who is heading the household, and they have younger siblings, and she then closes her questions and comments by asking a direct question of when are the social workers going to be appointed. With that, I hope I've covered you, Honorable Bishop Mtsweni. With that, I will hand over to the Honorable Reverend Qobaza. Over to you, sir.
Greetings. Thank you so much, Chairperson. Greeting, Chairperson. Greeting to the members of the Portfolio Committee and the Chairperson of the Women and Youth, Deputy Minister, and the department at large. Chairperson, we are in a crisis, and we, as Portfolio Committee, it is important as we perform oversight that we make sure that the department does make a difference into people's lives, as we can hear the crisis we are facing in terms of the statutory rape. There are two rapes. Maybe I want to separate them. There is just rape, of which we are not talking about somebody who is under 16. Those one just rape, and this one in particular, the statutory rape, it is very complicated in such a way that a family can know that a minor is sleeping maybe with the teacher, and because the teacher is bringing Nando's and food in this house, then the family does not go to the police's SAPS to report such things. And it becomes a norm that this thing is happening. And up until a social worker in school or somebody in school or a church leader, maybe this child will speak to that particular somebody. But it is not an easy thing, and I think the stats that we are having today, the stat is far low. One, maybe we should check how many teenage pregnancy do we have in a year, and Department of Health should give us a stat, and those children that have delivered, those children or those teenagers that are pregnant, we should know that who is the father of this child, the child that is the pregnant or whoever. So it is important that you'll find that in the sexual rape, the child maybe is willing, and the family is willing, but us as the lawmakers, we see it is wrong, and you'll find that that stat does not get into the statistics that we are having today. I think the integration between departments and the information flow, there's a big gap, because with the Department of Health and Department of Social Development, we are not linked properly into making sure that we have a real data from Department of Health in terms of those teenage pregnancy. And some, they don't get pregnant, they are there. But the gap is there in terms of integration. The gap is there between also social development and SAPS. That one is I don't want even to talk about our police today, because I don't know how there are serious crimes, other serious crimes that are happening, and they can't get people convicted. And today we are sitting with this one, and this one is very sensitive. This one, abantu besifazane, zimbali zezwe. These are flowers of our nation, and which we should take care of. This is the future of our nation, and we should be taking care of them. And these things, if they are not reported, and at when this young girl is old, this girl will need counseling. Maybe she's married, but this thing keeps on coming back, and now it destroyed the family while she's old now, but this thing was happening when she was young. And we really need those social workers to be there and be able to counsel our children and their families themselves. The issue of advertising, I don't know, awareness, not advertising, awareness on these things is so important. It is so important, because the awareness is not there to make sure that these children are able to report these things that are happening to them. And boys and girls, some are forced with I know a case where we had a program with one school where a girl child was sleeping in class during the day, and we then asked what was wrong with the child. And when she was able to speak, is that she's staying with the stepfather, and the stepfather is telling her to go and work at night. And this child is below 16 years old. She's going to work. She's going to be a sex worker. She's a sex worker at night, and during the day she has to come to school. And this thing is painful, Chair. I don't know how to explain it. And our country and our department is not doing justice into this. And there is no justice at all into this thing. As members of parliament, I think we should do something differently into this. First is that those teenage pregnancy, there should be no teenage pregnancy, because usually in that teenage pregnancy, it's somebody older that is doing that. And I also want to bring education into this, what we are being educated, no matter what our children are being educated. There is sex education now, which I think stimulates something in Ghanaian. So on one department, we are telling the children about sex and everything, educating them about that, and then on the other we are saying you are young, you are not supposed to do this as this department here. I think we are contradicting ourselves. I think we should focus there into saying nobody must touch you, this must happen, but it mustn't be just a whole subject or a module or whatever that talks about teaching a child about sex. But the most important thing is that when will the department then be able to integrate these systems and make sure that we get real-time, real information from SAPS, from health, from education also. I mean, education, that's where is the playground of this. The children are doing these things even in toilets, at schools and all of that. And the family matter program, I saw it somewhere, of which it must be a program that must run. Where is it running right now, and what are the challenges in building making sure that we build families that will be able to sustain themselves and be able to, these children, to understand what they must do, because some of them, a number of them, it's a willing of the family and the child and all of that, and it end up that those ones are also not reported. Thank you so much, Chairperson. I think my contribution will be that. One more, maybe the monitoring, the monitoring system that makes sure that all of these things, there is justice into this. I think also in the justice system, one member, I think somebody spoke about the family withdrawing the case after it's been opened and what happens, things like that. So the justice system also should come on board in terms of this, and we are able as a nation to take care of our teenagers or our youngsters, and they are not being raped. Thank you so much, Chairperson. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Reverend Kobaza. I will now hand over to the Honorable Munyai and also acknowledge your hand, Honorable Tafeni. Over to you, Honorable Munyai.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Firstly, I think we need to be, as honorable members, to be solution-oriented. I'll raise the question why, Honorable Chair, because if we're not solution-oriented, we can end up just complaining about issues, but not coming with practical recommendations. So in other words, Honorable Chairperson, we must not just only acknowledge the problematic areas or the challenges that that has been raised so far as the department presentation is concerned. We must also come with concrete recommendation that will put all our hands on the desk to combat the statutory rape. And this is not one department issues. It's not one stakeholder issues. Across department, the Department of Justice, Department of Police, Department of Health, and as well as all other departments and even academic institutions. First and foremost, it's critical for one to welcome the presentation by the department, which I strongly believe it was insightful, constructive, and squarely within the DSD responsibility to build a safer and more supportive society for children, especially related to statutory rape. And this is a scourge and the battle that requires all of us. And I'll say all of us, I'm referring to all multifaceted stakeholder approach. So the issue of interagency collaboration is a fundamental necessity because statutory rape, chairperson, sits in the intersection of justice, health, and social development. This question, therefore, arises that there's a crucial need for these systems to work together, including police, justice, because in final analysis, we must see justice for this crime that has been committed. It involved police, prosecutors, judiciary. I'm just saying, all stakeholders are critical in this regard. So the key challenge, Honorable Chairperson, will continue to remain that issue of handling the statutory rape cases in siloing of services between Ministry of Justice and Health and others. It is important, therefore, that the department formalize the protocol of interagency collaboration. For instance, this issue can be identified, victim can be identified at hospital, schools, So there have to be a guaranteed pathway to a social worker and for them to begin to measure the effectiveness of coordination to ensure that no child falls through the gaps. Chairperson, with respect to identifying the systematic flaws, this is remain a problem with respect to a public administration. It requires a formalized protocol, as I said earlier, moving from the just commitment and to include accountability for those that have committed crime. And ourselves as ordinary members, we must make sure that all these interagency, interdepartment are held accountable in responding to this scourge. Through that way, we'll be able to measure a very serious progress. Honorable Chair, the issue of the data-driven and modernization is critical. We will also want the academia, the institution of higher learning, and the inside researchers within the department, and including within this portfolio committee, to use evidence and modern tools to improve the response on the statutory rape, because these issues are interfaced even with, with issues of trafficking. Home Affairs, therefore, becomes another critical department. I think we must support the ministry and the department for effective policy and a program that is driven by good data. And we must welcome the DSD department to develop a centralized, I think what the presenter was trying to do was trying to demonstrate the centralized and also interfacing with lower structures, which make sure that the system is able to track the trends in statutory rape and exploitation of risk factors. We further recommend that the department leverage the data to strategically target the most vulnerable population, such as the children within the social care, those not in school, those in rural areas, and to enhance the protective services. So the police also must play their role to build a safer community. As I said earlier, Honorable Chairperson, the university must also come up with evidence-based research outcomes that are able to contribute or calls for data-driven approach to support departments and all these various departments, which I believe it will be a hallmark for a sophisticated policies improvement. When I'm saying that various stakeholders, I'm not excluding the critical stakeholders such as the NGO, human rights, it's also critical in this regard. They are also playing roles. I know there are NGO that are collaborating with approach. It's evidence-based and it's able to help as our country, our vulnerable groups, and those that violate the law, Honorable Chairperson. We should not have an obligation to allow the perpetrators to walk free because they are our families. We should not allow the case to be withdrawn because we are also wasting the resources of government. Police open the case, detectives go and do their work to investigate, and we waste a number of resources, even the van that we don't have. Then somebody want to allow the perpetrators to go free through withdrawal, there should be a policy mechanism that really avoid that. Honorable Chairperson, we must also make sure that this issue, it does not go off the agenda. We need further to have a joint portfolio committees with the Department of Health, with the Department of Justice, with the Department of Police, with the Department of Home Affairs in case of trafficking, and so forth and so on, such that we have a conversation to see as interdepartment, how do we collaborate? And we must invite NGOs, universities, Human Rights Commission and other organizations, Chapter 9 institution, to come and have conversation with us beyond the intervention by the department, to say, how do we respond to this scourge? How do you respond to this crime? To protect this most underage vulnerable group, Honorable Chair. In the interest of time, comprehensive sexuality in education, poverty and intergenerational trauma. These issues are integrated. The development perspective must also include the primary prevention model that empowers community, educate families and children, and intervention before such exploitation can occur. So now, Chairperson, allow me to ask the department, to what extent do they work with these various departments that I've mentioned and the NGOs to fight this issue, to combat this issue of statutory rape, which remains a challenge within our society? I thank you, Honorable Chairperson. The battle requires justice for these vulnerable groups, for the society of our children, especially related to statutory rape. There have to be collective mechanism, all departments, all hands on the deck with the NGO to fight the scourge. I thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Munyai, for those comments. I will now hand over to the Honorable Tafeni.
Thank you, Chairperson. Greetings to the members of the committee. Greetings to you, Chairperson, and also the Chairperson of the other committees and the officials of social development. Chairperson, I'm not here clear about the presentation. Since I'm in the rural areas, the network is killing me. But I only have a concerned question in the issue of social development. More especially, I have a concern because there are many people that are the graduate for that office, but abantu baconsolwa zi-politicians towards i-crisis abadibene nazo. So into efuna uyazi kahle kahle bazawuqashwa nini onontlalontle ukuze i-office yonontlalontle ibe nonontlalontle aboneleyo solve those issues, those challenges esinazo ingakumbi ku-rural areas. The other concern question is in SASSA. In SASSA in Aidutwa, in the office of SASSA, was suspending the officials of SASSA. I don't know the month, but into icacayo uba eza officials i-suspension yazo iphela nini xa zinetyala zimuva nini to the offices because bayapeya aba bantu ngexesha bahlele ezindlini phaya ezi-ofisini zakwa-SASSA eDutywa office abantu babilile phaya umntu eyi-1 usebenza umsebenzi wabantu abathathu bendikulaa office yakwa-SASSA izolo kunabantu abangakhange bancedwe phaya kwiveki ephelileyo abaphaya on yesterday bebephaya kukho abangakhange bakwazi ufumana uncedo on Monday still yesterday bebephaya. There are many limited staff phaya and ndiyarhalela into uSASSA akayikhawulezise le nto suspension yaba bantu if uyabasuspend bayakhutshwa expulsion uyazi uba kuqashwa abantu phaya because ibuhlungu into eyenzeka phaya kunabantu abagulayo abalambileyo abasetyhwini abalinda uncedo. Okwesibini kwalapha kuSASSA kunabantu abagulayo ezilalini engase uSASSA anze i-intervention aba bantu mabangasoloko ingabe kuthiwa mabaye kwaSASSA bayolungisa into zamakhadi. uSASSA makakabe neemoto eziphumayo allocate aba bantu bagulayo ilali neelali mazibe neemoto zikaSASSA kungathiwa makahamba umuntu awulungisa ikhadi. Ndike ndaforwarda enye problem kulindi ku-secretary wekomiti ngenxa yeemeko esiphantsi koxinizelelo ngazo ezi-politicians uba ezi zinto zinziwa kuthi akwazi uba thina sine-department ekufuneka yenze ezi zinto. So ndiyacela ke Chairperson ubana uSASSA makakhenze umsebenzi wakhe ngendlela because ngoku abantu bayasafarisha mpela more especially ngoyizaba nguDisemba abantu abazoba nayo imali yabo iyathathwa emakhadini bangayazi ithathwa ngubani. Enkosi Chairperson ndiyabulela.
You, Honorable Tafeni, for your questions. I note that some of the questions asked by the Honorable Tafeni are going to SASSA. I don't know if there is a SASSA representative here today because we're having this program where we are dealing with the statutory rape and teenage pregnancies, but the department will sort of give us a direction as to how the responses to those questions are going to be redirected where they need to go. Now I will hand over to the Honourable Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities. Over to you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and let me just take this opportunity as well to thank you and all the honourable members of your Portfolio Committee for warmly welcoming us to this meeting. Let me also start by greeting the Honourable Deputy Minister of Social Development, also greetings to our various support teams. Let me also say thank you, Honourable Chairperson, for the support that you have given us so far as we've embarked on Parliament's statutory rape inquiry. Speaking last means that all of the issues have been covered, but I think I just wanted to add my voice to some of the issues that have been raised, Chairperson, because during our inquiries, both in Johannesburg and in East London, we were told by the communities and stakeholders that our silence protects the perpetrators while our voices protects the victims. So it is important for me to just maybe sort of emphasize some of the issues that have been raised. I think I fully agree with yourself and Honourable Abrams when you said that you didn't get from the presentation by Social Development that there's any sense of urgency to deal with this crisis. I think from the presentation, I almost felt that it's a business as usual approach. And I really do think that more must be done in this fight. And it cannot only be that we put the focus on the crisis that our children are facing when Parliament starts a statutory rape inquiry. So I want to say that listening from all honourable members, there's generally an acceptance from all of us that there's a crisis with social workers in our country. And I'm looking at the presentation by Social Development, there's a slide that says, yes, we went and we asked Treasury for 15 billion to employ extra social workers. And then it says we were denied that request. But it really leaves me unimpressed because it doesn't then come with a solution to say, what is the plan B? And I want to remind the Department of Social Development that it was many years back when this department told us that there was a cabinet resolution of 2018 that instructed various government departments, basic education, health, police, and others to come together to ensure that a plan is put on the table to ensure that the various government departments absorb the social workers that are required. So I want to know, if we talk about practical solutions, apart from just going to Treasury, asking for money for social workers, then being denied, what is the plan B to ensure that we get the boots on the ground that will be able to fight and protect our children? So what has happened to that cabinet resolution? The Department of Social Development are the custodians of the rights of children. So I would expect them then to go to the President and say, President, we remind you that there was a resolution taken that instructed various government departments to come on board to absorb these social workers. So I really want to see, apart from just saying we didn't get the money to get the social workers that we need, what is the plan B? Also, maybe if we can just get an indication of what is the current shortfall of social workers, what are those numbers, and how many social workers are sitting at home. I know it's between 6,000 and 8,000. Can we just get an indication in that regard? And also, how many social workers are assigned per school? I heard that one social worker is assigned to about there are differing numbers in different provinces, but it can be as many as 80 to 100. So I just wanted to get clarity in that regard. Now, we heard during our public hearings that even social workers do not comply with the Children's Act 38 of 2005 in terms of Section 110(1), when it speaks about nurses, teachers, social workers, healthcare professionals, traditional healers, therapists. We are all responsible for mandatory reporting. Now, the presentation, the one that we received, doesn't really give me an indication what is the problem with social workers not reporting cases. Why are they not complying with the Act? Also, are we frequently training social workers on these provisions of the Act? And also, one of the issues that were raised during our hearings was that many social workers and other professionals fear reprisals from the communities if they do go in, and open a case with police. So we would like to know whether an online confidential reporting system would be helpful. In other words, if we had a platform where all government departments could collectively access that platform, log the cases there, it's then referred to the social workers, and all various stakeholders can track and follow those cases, whether that could be a solution to A, government departments not working together, and B, we are, struggling with the issue of mandatory reporting. So whether this confidential online system could maybe be helpful if we can get an impression from the department in that regard. There was a mention about defunding of NGOs, and I've often asked about this, but I don't really get an answer. So even in the shrinking budget, in our priorities, having to look after the NGOs, what does the department do to ensure that no NGO looking after vulnerable children are closed down or are affected by funding cuts? And also, I would like to know how many organizations does DSD fund nationwide that actually look after vulnerable children in the form of safe houses. I want to ask, and it's been asked, but how do we fix the silo approach? We were in our hearings, we often heard that the biggest problem why we are failing our children is because the various departments are not working together. For example, police told us that, social development's got all these Form 22s, hardly any of those Form 22s reach SAPS. And they were complaining to say, our biggest problem is the fact that nobody is talking to one another. So as the custodians of the rights of children, in your work around the National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence, is there ever a focus on child abuse, statutory rape, and the crimes being committed against children? And then lastly, Chairperson, again, if we talk about the issue of social workers, so if you think about the issue of statutory rape, a child is in crisis, they don't have access to a social worker, maybe the family is complicit, so they've got nowhere to turn, then one would assume that the next available avenue for a child to be able to access help is through Childline's toll-free number, and also DSD mentioned that they've got a toll-free number as well. But again, nobody sees those numbers anyway. It's not publicized. We don't see a constant reminder of how one can access those services. So really, again, also Childline in Johannesburg told us that they don't have a budget to market that toll-free number. Can DSD not assist some of our NGOs in this regard to ensure that marketing of those tools are done in a manner that we see it everywhere? And I was also thinking, Honourable Alex or some of the other members raised it, I'm sure if we go to the Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies, if we approach Minister Malatsi, we say to him, Minister, we are facing a statutory rape crisis. We need these numbers, both of the department and Childline, publicized. I really can't see that he would say no. So again, where is that collaboration, that working arrangement, and just thinking outside of the box to ensure that we do more to protect our children? Honourable Marais said, as communities, as leaders, we are failing our children. And really, I do think we need to think out of the box and start thinking about the solutions, as some of the other members had said. But thank you very much, Chairperson, for this opportunity. And thank you for the work that you've done this morning. And thank you again for the support you've given our Portfolio Committee as well. Thank you, Chair.
Honourable Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities. And thank you to all the honourable members for your questions, for your suggestions, your recommendations, those that gave recommendations. I think I just need to say that the motion that was agreed to in Parliament in August last year elevated this issue above just the normal work that we are doing. It made it a what can I call it? It gave it another sort of status, if you like, which is why we are doing the work that we are doing today. And I believe that the members, I have heard in the members' tone as they have been asking this question, the frustration, the urgency, like the determination that something must come out of this department's contribution to the inquiry that came as a result of the motion. I believe that I have been covered in 99.9% in the questions that have been asked, but would like to just also ask a very, very few questions, maybe even if they are sort of subsumed in the questions that have been asked, but I hope I'm not just merely reiterating in different words what has already been asked. So my question would be that the presentation by Ms. Tsegiso spoke to the forum that they have on a regular basis about this issue or about child protection in general, but specifically this issue that we are discussing today. And my question would be, are there reports? Does she feel that those forums are producing reports that are showing a heightened sort of level of work being done, so that one can say the report is really showing that since this inquiry has started, and of course since the very motion by Parliament was agreed to, the obviously have been work that has already been done, but are these forums making any contribution to the work of the department? And also the question also that I have, the linking together of the registers. I believe there is a National Child Protection Register, but also there is a justice-based, a Department of Justice-based National Register of Sex Offenders. If these registers are talking to one another, and also what forms the basis of the working together among the department? Do we, for example, and this is a direct question, do we have a MOU between the Departments of Health and Basic Education with the Department of Social Development? What is it that compels these meetings or this working together to happen? And someone's earlier on among the colleagues mentioned the attempt that needs to, or effort rather, that needs to be made to do away with the silos because in South Africa, my knowledge for as long as I have had anything to do with the work of government is that there are serious efforts that are made to do the work, but it is done in silos. And that, for me at least, it minimizes the impact that work would achieve. And as a result, you then come to a meeting like this and you have worked so hard and you still hear that on the ground, this work is not being seen. But I can't overemphasize, Honorable Deputy Minister, the issue of making sure that the resources are sort of added to ensuring that this work, some movement of a needle in this crisis is established, because or is increased, or it's moved to the right direction. Because if we are using the various resources that we've always had to do our work, our normal work, we cannot lie to one another and say that if we have a crisis, we have deployed the same resources, but we are expecting to see a different result. I think we can agree on that. So that, for me, is also just to appreciate, in fact, the effort that has gone into first the work that has been done so that we could have this report presented this morning. But I would like to implore the department to really make sure that we lift the way that we are working with this particular crisis, so that it does not show that we are just doing our work, we're doing it well, and we are making sure that all the pieces of legislation that trigger the way that we do our work are being complied to, because we all know that at the end of the day, we say that this department, when it comes to children, we have to make sure that the best interest of a child is at the center of everything we do. I do not see the best interest of a child when a child has been raped, when a child has been statutory raped, when a child is falling off school because they are pregnant, when a child never goes back to school, and then the entire future of the child is predetermined on that one moment when they are violated. And the motion says, the motion of the 27th of August 2024, that some or many of these children are not even aware that they are being violated. So our efforts to train, to create awareness, to communicate, to intervene should be geared towards even sensitizing the victims, who are children in this case, that you are actually being violated. That should change the demeanor of the child. When they know that they become aware that they are being violated, what is happening is not only just a bad thing, but it is a violation that has long-term impact on their future, as it were. So, but I cannot thank the department enough for this presentation, and I will hand over to you, Honourable Deputy Minister, for the responses and reflections of what the members have raised. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair, and thank you very much for giving us over 99% for responding to your questions. However, I was very concerned to hear from honourable members and our leaders that it is business as usual in the Department of Social Development with regard to the issues that we was discussing today. So yes, we can be complimented for having the policies in place, for doing the oversight, for having some programs. But there is a difficulty in that there is a lack of coordination. And Chair, you gave us some valuable advice. You didn't give us that 1% make it 100%, but you gave us some advice that why isn't there a memorandum of agreement between the Department of Health, Basic Education and DSD so that everyone can be held accountable? I would also like to add the police, because it is their responsibility to have programs at every police station with young people to keep them out of crime. And the programs that they have to have is sporting programs. Just imagine, Honourable Chair, if the police carry out their mandate at every police station and they have programs with young girls who are 12 years old, whether it is netball or soccer or cricket or just athletics, they will develop a bond. The local police station will develop a bond with young girls, and the young girls will see here are allies. I would imagine that the police, when they have these programs, and that is their mandate, they're supposed to do it. just imagine if that relationship between young boys and young girls are with the police, and they can be told of their responsibilities, and the girls will feel here we have allies. The police they are referees on the field. They are organizing these games. They will feel confident to take the police, constables, the warrant officers, the captains into their confidence. And so we need to provide that. But the memorandum of agreement, I think, is a priority. So I heard that. I repeat again that I was very concerned when I heard that it is business as usual, and we need to up our game. When we were at the retreat at the Cradle of Humankind, the political leaders, the president made it quite clear. If it is business as usual, and there's an urgency, which in this case is necessary, and the officials for them it's business as usual. Redeploy them and get officials to that has a sense of urgency. I don't have the delegation for this, but as deputy minister, I stand in for the minister, and I'm going to engage with the minister that we need to crack the whip, that there needs to be a sense of urgency, and that you, chairman, and the honourable members that are here can pick up that there is a sense of urgency. With regard to social workers, we made a bid. Treasury just don't have the money. And we are hoping that the private sector, the two companies that have shown interest to fund some social workers, that they speed up their decision. But many of our problems are in mining towns with young girls, and every mining house must have a social plan. And I think we need to speak to Honourable Minister Gwede Mantashe that he must make sure that in the social plans that at least 20% of the allocation is given to fund social workers. And also organizations on the JSE, they have made a commitment towards funding social responsibility. We should start, for example, suggesting 20% of the profits that they make, from the profits that they make, should be used to fund social workers, because we need 15 billion rand, Chair, to have the minimum social workers that the country needs. Where are we going to find the 15 million? We spoke to Treasury, we made a bid, a very powerful bid. The Minister of Social Development is now chairman of an interministerial committee, that can persuade Treasury to allocate more money. But Treasury just doesn't have the money. So as chairman of that ministerial committee, she's going to make a large effort to try and convince Treasury to give us that 15 billion rand that we need. So when Treasury is approached by multiple departments, I'm sure they will try and see if they can find the money. In fact, at the GNU retreat, they made a presentation, and we indicated to them, that they need to find savings wherever they can and redirect it to where the priorities are. And Chair, you have made it quite clear that this is a priority. We also told Treasury there are certain projects, departments who are not adding value to the needs of the country, and they have budgets of billions of rands. Close them down. And I think the president is considering that as well. So we realize the urgency. Chair, over this weekend, I visited 3 provinces and had 6 programs, and I joined the MEC for Social Development in the Eastern Cape to open a facility to create over 200 jobs for people with disabilities. And she was moaning and groaning throughout her presentation about the lack of social workers. So even MECs are doing their best, but I think premiers must do more. We do the policies, the programs, they have the budgets for implementation. So as this portfolio committee, you look us in the eyes, asking us, to make the resources available. We don't have the resources. It's the premiers that have it in the MECs. We heard about a crisis in the Western Cape, which where there is a scourge of statutory rape. And so the Premier there must now hope he listens and he will do something about it so there is no statutory rape in the Western Cape. So premiers need to up their game. They need to take the policies that are developed in the presidency, the policies that are developed by my department, more serious, and they're not doing that. And that is a breakdown. So maybe we must also have memorandum of agreements between the Department of Social Development and all the premiers so that, people carry out their commitment. And if they don't carry out their commitment in terms of the memorandum of agreements, they need to fall on their sword. So Chair, thank you very much for calling us to answer to some of the issues. We've heard from the streets that they are not concerned about statutory rape. So that means we need to do some work. Department of Communications must also up their game. They need to reinforce the concepts of Ubuntu. They need to strengthen the concept of righteousness, and because we seem to have a society that condones statutory rape. If I hear what honourable members are saying, we cannot have a society, the streets, the villages, the kingdoms, turning a blind eye to statutory rape, and we have honourable members in Parliament adopting legislation to highlight the scourge of statutory rape in this particular case. Even our marriage bill, I think the last public participation program will be in Limpopo very soon. The marriage bill is also trying to assist by saying you can't get married until you're 18 years old. The marriage bill goes further and say you can't even get engaged. But maybe it should have gone further to say that you can't even court and date before you are 18. But maybe that is too radical. I'll be taken to the Ethics Committee for that. But that is fine. We need to hear what the public has to say. And Chair, the sad news is that in many public participation programs that has been taken, in the provinces, the debates in the churches and in the mosques, it seems that if that Parliament or the Ministry of Home Affairs doesn't seem to have the support of the streets, doesn't seem to have the support of the kingdoms. It's very important that we now start engaging the traditional leaders. I'm engaging with the African royal women that represents the queens and princesses of our land, and I've even offered them a desk at my office in Cape Town, so that they can also join us in dealing with lots of matters. And I'm now definitely going to add statutory rape to it. It's important that I conclude with some hope, Chair, that the department has developed a program to strengthen families. It has been developed by UNESCO. We heard that one of the honourable members says, please come up with evidence-based solutions. Let me tell him, yes, this is evidence-based, that if this app developed by UNESCO and the Department of Social Development and countries like Uganda, if this app is implemented, it will strengthen families, and children are part of families. I just want to share with you one of the interventions that this app brings to the fore. It teaches mothers to praise their daughters. How do you praise your daughters? And we know that, in many families, daughters and mothers are estranged. So evidence-based show that the more mothers praise their daughters, it strengthens the family, and the daughter feels they can confide in their mothers. They can then tell their mothers, that, look, there are approaches to me to engage in sexual activity, and that's a conversation that we need to start. Also, this app, which I hope my department will release in the next week or two, once we get a clearance from UNESCO, also strengthens the relationship between boys and their fathers. So we've been working on this for many years, very proactive, and South Africa and Uganda are two of the 5 countries chosen by the United Nations to roll this out. The world needs solid families. The world needs functional families and not dysfunctional families. We can now see that we have dysfunctional families because if we did have functional families, there wouldn't have been statutory rape. We've seen that the problems is very severe in the Western Cape. We need to have a special focus on the Western Cape. I'm a homeboy of the Western Cape, and I will take a special interest. But, unfortunately, we are not getting the cooperation that we need in some of the provinces. But we just have to crack the whip. The Government of National Unity is now meeting monthly. And, there's an opportunity also to get support there, and also other parties in Parliament, represented in Parliament. We're going to make a special effort to make sure that all of government and all of civil society and all of the corporate world comes on board to address statutory rape. Thank you very much, Honourable Chair, and I think that what we've learned today is a wake-up call to the nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. I know that the time seems to be totally against us. I was referring to you, giving over to you so that your team can respond to all or some of the questions that they are able to respond to, and those that need the going back to their files and respond in writing, they do so. So I'll hand the over back to your department for that. Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Chairperson. As you have said, there are some questions that we will not be able to answer now, and we will try to respond later to them in writing. Several reports and so on that are requested. But I think it's important, before going into the questions, to indicate to the committee that We are concerned about this. It is not, in terms of the work that we are doing, we have tried to elevate this work in this year, in that if members are to look at our last year's annual performance plan and this year's performance plan, you will see that we have added in this current financial year a new target, which is about enhancing education and awareness in 5 provinces around issues of statutory rape and child abuse, because we realize the importance of this matter. Of course, ideally, we should be taking it to all of the provinces, but due to the limitations of resources, we have targeted 5 provinces in this year with the intent of doing the other provinces in the next financial year. So we have elevated the work in the department. We were not doing this before. We've also, the work around the file audits, it's not in an APP, but it's additional work that we have started to do now to start to audit, because we were recognizing the fact that we are not getting the sort of bang for the little buck that we have in terms of this program. And that is why we've introduced the work around auditing the file, the forms. So it is new work, and we are trying to escalate it further and engage other departments. And we already have some MOUs with some departments, one especially with the Department of Education and the Department of Health around integrated school health program, which also integrates issues of child sex abuse at the school level. So we are doing new work in this space. Obviously, we understand, though, that it will never be enough. For as long as there's a single child who gets raped, we will never be able to say as a department that we are doing enough, but we also hear the portfolio committee's concerns about it does not seem that we've elevated the work. We are elevating it, and we are taking the advice from some of the comments that have been made here from the different members around the additional things that we can do to beef up the work that we are doing, and also to ensure that we are having a much bigger impact than we are currently having. We agree, we do recognize the fact that the statistics that we have given are not triangulated with statistics from other departments, and this is where that we can start to do. We appreciate the question, because we're also treating it as a suggestion and a proposal for how to improve our work. So it's not business as usual. We are trying to do business unusual, and we will take the additional proposals that were being made here in order to continue with the business unusual. In terms of the questions from member Abrahams, a lot of the questions are things that we'll provide in a report format. Questions around the audit of the Form 22 and Form 23, will provide that report. Also on the training interventions, on specifically around Section 110 of the Children's Act, we will provide those reports and other reports that are requested by other members around numbers of social workers and so on. We don't have that information immediately in front of us now, but we'll definitely provide it. On the question of digitalizing, yes, in addition to that, also to do the triangulation of different data sets in order to have a better grasp of the numbers. I mean, we understand also that it looks like there's a growth in the numbers of cases, but that it's not only a growth in the number of cases, it might also be an improvement in the reporting because of the new work that we have started. But we do want to see more and more of the cases actually being reported. There's a real challenge among communities in terms of reporting this, not only because of the reasons that we have stated and the reasons that some of the members have stated, but also because of shame. Some parents may want to protect their child from being known as a child who has been raped and therefore not go and report, and as a result then actually further prejudice the child by not allowing the child to get the assistance that they can get. So there's a lot of intractable, difficult challenges that we are facing in this space, which is why we want to get other departments also involved more. And we appreciate the proposal around actually doing the MOU and formalizing the relationship with other departments so that we go beyond the current one that we have with Department of Health and Department of Basic Education, but also to look at other departments that we need to collaborate better with in order to ensure that we can improve the services that we are providing. So we appreciate that proposal from Honorable Munyai. And then with regards to the child protection budget, this one also will not be able to answer today. We'll have to go back to our books and get the assistance from also the provinces, because the budget doesn't just sit at national in terms of the work around child protection. On issues of social workers and how many are linked to schools, I think it's important to indicate the Department of Social Development doesn't assign social workers to schools. We expect the Department of Education to do that. And in fact, that is a decision that was made at cabinet level that other government departments should also employ social workers so that the mandate doesn't sit only with Department of Social Development. Not only because of the money issues, but also because social workers are required in all aspects of life and not only in the work that the Department of Social Development does. So even the police services are required to appoint social workers and so on. And so we don't have the numbers yet. Those numbers we can provide at a later stage as part of the written responses that we will be giving. Then with regards to the question that Mema Khato asked about poverty and how can we control or how can we reduce the number of sugar daddies. I don't think we can control it, but I think one of the things that we recognize as a country and as a department is the interrelationship between poverty and transactional sex. There are many, many families who will allow their child to be abused primarily because they are poor and the abuser or the sugar daddy is providing resources. So this is a challenge that needs to be tackled not only from the point of view of education and teaching and training and so on, but also from dealing with the fundamental issues. And so it's a broader economic question that we are dealing with as a country. And it's one of the things that we, evidence that we give when we motivate for increases, for example, in the child support grant, in the different grants, that when families have more income, they are better able to make decisions that are good for their children and not be coerced or tempted to use their children as sources of income in this kind of way. But this is a big problem that the country faces and it needs to be tackled from different aspects. But there is always this relationship between poverty, transactional sex, or other social ills in context of a great deal of poverty, which is a challenge that we need to deal with as DSD, but also have other departments beyond the ones that are dealing with the child protection issues to tackle. And then on the other issue that is raised around Member Munyai's proposal around having a joint portfolio committee meeting, I think that we would welcome that because it would also show the other colleagues. It will allow for a more coordinated engagement on all of the issues and for each party to understand the role of the other party and the importance of them playing or for all of us to be playing the same match, basically, in this regard. Metafeni, the questions around SASSA, we will redirect them to SASSA and provide written responses to them. And then on Plan B, well, Honorable Member Van Merwe, in the presentation that we tabled the fact that we had asked Treasury for an additional 15 billion and we were not successful in that bid. But then one of the things that has happened is that other departments were then also tasked to also employ social workers, so that it's not just the responsibility of GSD. But in addition to that, in that same slide, we indicated that we've also approached the private sector in order to get them also to provide some funding, and we've sent proposals through that two of the companies are considering. We hope that we can also encourage the private sector in this regard by submitting bids to them and making specific requests as part of the social responsibility financing that they may be able to allocate to this function. And then I think the other questions are things that I will ask my colleague to respond to. I've tried to just reduce the number. I don't know, Chairperson, how much time we have, given that there's a number of questions that require us to go back and do some work, but she may be able to respond to some of them. And if there's anything that we have left over, we will then go back and provide it in a written format. But if, with your permission, if you allow, Chairperson, can I allow Me Tsekiso to deal with some of the questions that I have not dealt with? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you, Acting DG, for the responses. I needed to indicate that we will share the disaggregated statistics in terms of the training on Section 110, which we have done with health and education. And I must also indicate, Honorable Chair, that when we were at the Portfolio Committee of Basic Education yesterday, there was acknowledgement of their role and appreciated the role of DSD in terms of the education and awareness and the training that we do with them when it comes to the issues of reporting, where they even have a protocol in place which we as DSD provided our inputs to strengthen how the issues of learner pregnancy and sexual harassment could be dealt with in education. There was a question around the programs, if programs include boys, or even if the statistics that we were presenting include boys, we will do the disaggregation. However, the presentation I made, it was on programs, not necessarily focusing on statutory rape, but how men and boys' mindset needs to be changed in relation to violence against women and children. And that also includes issues of statutory rape. So when I referred to Men and Boys Championing Change, it is a program that is not specifically to statutory rape, but overall violence prevention. The other question that was asked, it was on the enforcement. The enforcement, Section 305 of the Children's Act, put offenses for non-compliance to the Children's Act by every stakeholder. And I think this is one area that our legal services, they need to start writing to these departments, including to our own people that are not complying, because I've indicated drop-in centers, child and youth care centers, ECD centers, every area where a child is when mandatory reporting is not being done, those people must be charged because it is an offense in terms of Section 305. And this is an area that also has to be included as part of our education. The other question that was asked was, how do we conduct educational awareness? As National DSD leading this in terms of our APP target, we have a dialogue with children because firstly, we want to ascertain what is their understanding of child sexual abuse. Do they understand sexual exploitation? Do they understand statutory rape? So as we go to these provinces, as national office leading the process, emulating a process for the provinces and districts to actually embark on the same exercise, because we basically tell these 4 provinces that we've been to, we said to them, national is not supposed to do this. It is a responsibility of the province to implement, because national does policies, develop programs and oversight on what is being done. However, where we see gaps, we step in, as we stepped in through the APP when we realized the crisis of child sexual abuse. So through the dialogues, and we pick up that there are really distortions in terms of what is known. Then we impart knowledge. We educate on what is a child sexual abuse. How do you prevent or protect yourself? If it happens that you are raped or your friend is raped or your child is raped, what do you do as a parent? What do you do as a child or as a friend to make sure that we create a safe space, but most importantly, the reporting of that crime is done within the 72 hours so that the evidence is not lost. Though we are told that sometimes, the perpetrators, they are so knowledgeable, they would actually ask their victims, throw them under the shower to bath after they have raped them. But this is the education that we do together with NPA. I can say NPA and SAPS, they have been working jointly with us when we went to these 4 provinces. That is Limpopo, Western Cape, Limpopo, Western Cape, Eastern Cape, the fourth province, it's going to be KZN. Maybe my numbers are not tallying, but it's just that I'm getting confused a bit. But the four provinces that we have been to, we are working together. However, we cannot say that our intersectoral collaboration is strong. Though at national, we've got the National Childcare and Protection Forum, which needs now to cascade down as well and be fully functional in provinces and in district as it is at national level. This is the area of intersectoral collaboration that we want to encourage other stakeholders, because it is led by DSD, and the focus, Honorable Chair, is not necessarily on statutory rape, but it's on broader child protection services, because we understand that when we look at the ecological systems approach, you address this, but the cause, it's something else. Hence, we take that holistic approach when we deal with the issues of the sexual abuse. As Deputy Minister has indicated, the strengthening of families and ensuring that relationships that mothers have with their daughters, fathers have with their sons, it's also strengthened through these programs that we have in place. And we will definitely disaggregate the data, because we can do that with our Form 22s, because it does show even if a child has got a disability. So we will be able to disaggregate that data and give that comprehensive picture. DG, I'm not sure if I've left anything out. In terms of the rural areas across the country, which we can also provide that statistics, we've got drop-in centers, which are our Resiha sites. And those Resiha sites are across, the country, 1,200. So we will be able to provide the areas exactly where those Resiha sites are. And this is where our social and behavior change programs as well are implemented, because we believe that if we do them at those sites, every child that comes there, they are able to receive. But also at schools, these social and behavior change programs, the Yokimoja, Sinovuyo, the Yolo and Chomi, they are also implemented at those sites. Thanks, DG.
Register the link between the DOJ and
No, I didn't. Thank you for that. Because Honorable Masango asked if there's a linkage between these two. The two registers are serving a different purpose. The sexual offences strictly focuses on sexual abuse, whilst the child protection register focuses on all offences that are committed to children, including neglect, deliberate neglect, which we have seen as high now in our statistics of the National Child Protection Register. However, when it comes to sexual offences register, that one is based on the convictions, not disciplinary forums, whilst the National Child Protection Register gets findings as well through disciplinary forums, where I've indicated the educators, labor, relations forum that submit the statistics to us based on unsuitability, and we even see ECDs submitting the statistics. However, these two registers, we even made a presentation at our national response plan coordinated at NAT joints to show how these registers work together, because it's not necessarily a duplication. And the information that comes from the National Register for Sexual Offences it's shared with us for the sexual crimes that have been committed, but the NCPR, which is now our Child Protection Register, keeps all cases of abuse against children as per the Form 22s that are being submitted. And DG, you spoke about the integrated school health program with a policy that is in place, the guidelines as well as the MOU that is in place. However, we need to strengthen that part of the statutory rape so that these three departments ensure that statistics is shared with the names of children, not just numbers, but names of children, so that DSD can follow up on those children and provide the adequate services. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Yeah. Thank you, Chairperson. I think we have tried to deal with all the questions, and the ones that we could not respond to, we'll respond to in writing. I'm not sure if there's anything we need to respond to that we have left out other than what we've mentioned that we will respond to in writing where requests and statistics are requested. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Acting DG. For that, I believe, from what I heard, I believe that the information that is outstanding is where you needed to provide reports disaggregated in various forms to the honourable members. I didn't mention at the beginning that this is part of a bigger inquiry, so we have deadlines to submit reports back to the portfolio committee on women, youth, and persons with disabilities. So we will have to have more stricter deadlines for these reports because they need to form part of the portfolio committee's report to the lead portfolio committee. So I have to ask that these reports are with us before or latest Friday, please. That is latest, because we obviously have to put together a report so that we are able to transmit it to the lead portfolio committee. Acting DG, is that in order on your side?
If I understand it to be Friday the 14th, Chairperson will do our absolute best to make sure. And I forgot to mention that the presentation, we apologize that we presented an updated one that we had not sent through. That one we will definitely send today.
Okay. Thanks. You. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Honourable Deputy Minister, and your department, Acting DG, and the senior officials of the department, and the other the portfolio committee on women, youth, and persons with disabilities. I believe that we have come to the end of the session of the agenda that is not a internal business. So we will now be continuing. I would really ask for the portfolio committee, honorable members of social development, to please stay. I know that we are out of time, but I would request that you please stay behind. And so while I know that the internal business is not a closed meeting, but I would like to be able to say those that need to go away and do other very important and urgent business, they can do so. With my thanks and high level gratitude for your presentation and your response to the questions and comments in this meeting. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Chairperson.
Thank you. Honourable members, we are very much out of time, but I would like for us to please go through these two sets of minutes so that they don't pile up and they cause all manner of delays when we attend to this work. So I will hand over quickly to Lindiwe to do those sets of minutes. Thank you, Lindiwe.
Thank you very much, Chair. There are two sets of minutes, the 22nd of October and the 29th. I'll start with the 22nd of October, Chair, to indicate that the members that were present was Member Mahato, Member Munyai, Member Ramaila, Member Nhlongo, Member Mhlongo, and also we have Member Masango as our chairperson and Member Abrams, Reverend Kabaza, we have Member Mare and Member Tafen. We received an apology from Bishop Mtsweni. Chair, also we have your staff, the five of us were present, myself, Ms. Kanye and Budula, Bulawa, and Mahubelela, Chair. It's my daughter, sorry. Chair, you welcomed all of us, Chair. We received apology from Bishop Mtsweni, who couldn't attend the meeting due to an urgent matter that required her attention. Also, there was an apology from the minister who could not attend due to a cabinet meeting scheduled the same day. We received, after that, Chair, we adopted an agenda, and then there was a proposal that we moved to the adoption of the agenda. There should be a proposal be accepted. There was a proposal from Member Abrahams that we need to get a report on the legal opinion, and then Member Mahato seconded the proposal from Member Abrahams that there should be an amendment, and then the agenda was adopted. There were no minutes, Chair, scheduled for adoption, and then we received, Chair, the overview from the Deputy Minister. Chair, also that we received a presentation from Advocate Mchochisa on the progress made with the Children's Amendment Bill, and then we deliberated, Chair, on the contents of the presentation. And then, Chair, Mr. Member Abrahams requested an update on the progress made in obtaining the legal advice. And then, Chair, there were a number of deliberations that amongst them that members cautioned against allowing media narratives to influence the committee's agenda, stressing the importance of operating within the committee's conditional jurisdiction, Chair. Another deliberation, and then the committee wanted to know how far the process was on it conducting an international study tour, and then the court advisor have advised that the committee could conduct a study tour on the matter of baby safe haven laws and baby savers, because of the SWAL committee had received substantive submission calling for these laws to be included in the Children's Amendment Bill. Also, Advocate Mchochisa, in his progress report, highlighted that the majority of the comments on the gazetted bill were opposed on the proposed amendment of an abandoned child. In essence, Chair, the comments supported the baby safer laws and baby savers. And then it was then likely that the committee will be seized with the matter when the Children's Amendment Bill is before it, Chair. I'll go to resolution. There was a request that they must share the brief that was forwarded to the Parliamentary Legal Services, and then that I share that the same day during the meeting, and then that you also need to amend the brief to address the committee concerns and ensure clarity on its role and jurisdiction, Chair. Also, Chair, the committee undertook a study tour and focus area on the baby saver and substance abuse. And then it was agreed that the committee should identify countries known for excellence in social protection, social development practices as possible destinations. That's, Chair, this is a set of minutes for 22nd of October for this committee's consideration and adoption. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you, Lindiwe. Please, may we have the adoption of these minutes as the true reflection of our meeting Members? Honorable members, we need to adopt the minutes, those that were part of the meeting.
Chairperson, I move for the adoption of the minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Abrams. Any seconder of that adoption?
Chairperson, I'm seconding.
Thank you, Honorable Makhato. Thank you so much. Now we go to the next set, Lindiwe, the one of the 29th of October. Thank you so much.
And members, this is a second set of minutes for the 29th of October. Chair, the agenda of this meeting, Chair, was to deliberate and adopt the BRRR, also the first term quarterly program, and also we had a set of minutes for adoption. And also we have tabled the invitation to attend the CDA 4th Biennial Summit on Substance Use and Illicit Trafficking. Chair, maybe we can just give an update regarding the CDA Summit, Chair, towards the end. Chair, members that were present was Member Makhato, Member Munyai, Member Ramaria, Member Nhlong, Member Masango, the chairperson of this committee, Member Abrams, Reverend Twabaza, Member Bishop Mtweni, and Member Mare, and Member Peter's Chair. The issue of Mtweni regarding her title as Bishop, I've verified with her regarding whether is it an official title. So we had a discussion with her when I checked the records from her party. So for now is Ms. Mtweni, but we can address her as Bishop Mtweni, because Reverend Twabaza, in terms of the formal records from his party, he's been referred as Reverend Twabaza. Thanks for. I have a discussion with Member Mtweni around this. Chair, also the member from the support staff. The 5 of us were here, Chair. You've welcomed everyone, Chair. There were no apologies in this meeting, Chair. The agenda was tabled, and then Member Maramaila moved for adoption of the agenda, which was seconded by Member Makhato, and then the agenda was adopted without amendments. Chair, the minutes of 2nd September, 3rd, 10th and 17th of September were adopted by this committee and proceeded to adopt the minutes of 8th and 9th of October, Chair. And then the BRRR report was tabled for adoption. Member deliberated in depth and then in great length. And then Member Makhato moved for the adoption of the report with amendments. And then her motion was seconded by Member Munyai. Chair Umkhonto Wesizwe recorded that it reserves its opinion in the report. Chair, we also proceeded to adopt and consider the first term quarterly report on the financial and non-financial performance for 2026 financial year, which is April to June, Chair. And then the Member Abrahams moved for the adoption without amendments, and her motion was seconded by Member Peters. Chair, we received a correspondence, Chair, on the invitation by the CDA to attend the 4th Biennial Summit on Substance Use and Illicit Trafficking Summit, Chair, scheduled for 26 to 27, Chair, which falls during a parliamentary session. And then she noted that members would need to seek permission to attend, possibly coordinating flights after the sitting, Chair. So we also mentioned that an approval should be sought from the chief whip of the largest party and other political parties, Chair, that the committee can decide whether to participate or not, Chair. The resolutions that were taken in that meeting was that the committee must attend the CDA and inform the staff to do the necessary logistics, which we did, Chair. And then the department must provide the committee with an updated contact list for ministerial and DG support staff. I submitted the request, Chair. I need to follow up after this meeting. Chair, also we need the official responses regarding the SASSA pay points. That also request was submitted. I'll make a follow-up, Chair. Chair, also there was a request that now that there will be that summer summit, the CDA need to provide us with the with the program for that summit. I haven't received, Chair. That's the minutes, Chair, and maybe the report, the progress report around the summit. I can just report after the adoption of these minutes. Over to you, Chair.
Thank you, Lindiwe. Honourable members, may I please have the adoption of the minutes of the 29th of October as the true reflection of the deliberations of the day, please?
Chairperson, I move for the adoption of the minutes.
Thank you, Honourable Abrams. And may we have the seconder, please?
Chairperson, MP Peters, second, thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Peters, for seconding the adoption of the minutes of the meeting of the Portfolio Committee on the 29th of October. So the minutes having been adopted, please, Lindiwe, go ahead and give us an update on the CDA Biennial Summit invitation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. I wish to inform the members that the application or approval processes from our side as the support team, we've concluded and we received an approval from the House Chairperson, also from the Chief Whip of the largest party. So from our side, we are ready to pack our bags and conduct our oversight in terms of attending the summit to look at issues of substance abuse. Chair, as you are aware that there is a bit of a challenge with regard to whether the CDA summit should continue or not. There was a correspondence, Chair, I've received, I was copied, and then I've just forwarded to you today, I think you were in the meeting, that the CDA, there were issues regarding whether the summit should continue or not. And then the CDA chairperson wrote a correspondence to the minister to comment, to get her view, because they were of the view that to cancel the summit at this critical advanced stage of organizing may portray a negative picture to the to CDA. So for now, as much as we have received the approval, there are those challenges in terms whether to proceed with whether the CDA should proceed with the summit or not. So we couldn't confirm anything from our side because of that question. So maybe the Minister Chair can share light whether she supports that the summit should continue or not. Thank you very much, Chair. I don't know whether you want to add anything from your side, Chairperson.
No, thank you so much for that update, Lindiwe. I can confirm that I received the letter that I was also copied on from the chairperson of CDA to the Honourable Minister and the Honourable Deputy Minister. I will obviously be in touch with the Honourable Minister in this thing, because my take, and the members will say, will have their say on this, is that when you cancel a summit, a legislated summit that comes out of the legislation at this late stage, you run a risk of incurring I don't know what they call it, the what expenditure? Wasteful expenditure, because some of these service providers do not give back the deposits that you have paid, if you have paid any deposit, and so on and so forth. But also, this is immediately after the G20, and eyes are still on South Africa. So when we discuss the issue of substance abuse, and we declare it a crisis in the country, but efforts to have these things such as the summit are being thwarted in the way that I believe they have. And I don't have any view on this because obviously I'm still gonna read the letter and apply my mind on the issues being raised in it. You are running a risk of not only a disrepute of CDA, you are running a risk of disrepute of the actual department. And as a result, the country of South Africa and how it deals with matters of crisis, such as substance abuse, in this way. So, honorable members, that is the feedback that we have gotten. While we celebrate the approvals, we do know that there is a chance, I don't know at what percentage, that this summit may not take place because it has been, as Linda was saying, there has been moves to cancel or postpone it, as it were. Anything to say about this, and so that we can go ahead and adjourn this meeting, for which I thank members for their patience and their attendance. Honorable Ramaila, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. This is still the morning. Good afternoon. I presume it's outside our purview whether the summit continues or not. We just remain as invitees. Maybe we should just ask the chair to really hastily check with the minister about the matter and come clarify the committee back about any progress. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Ramaila, for that confirmation that one must always make sure that you don't overreach while you do your oversight, given the fact that this is a summit that is in the legislation that this meeting or these members have had a hand in approving or adopting. Honorable Abrams?
Thank you, Chairperson, and you read my mind there by referring to the legislation. Chairperson, mine was just to say that your concern about wasteful expenditure is a serious concern, because at the end of the day, then it's this committee that has to get answers from the department as to why the wasteful expenditure occurred. And here's an opportunity to actually go and ask the minister, what is actually going on here, and an actual way to even prevent it. So I, for one, would think that more reasons need to be obtained from the minister on the cancellation. But further, I mean, the staff of this committee has also, been making arrangements, and we wouldn't want the committee itself to also have to incur unnecessary expenses if that means holding deposits on flights or accommodation and so forth. So there's a risk to the committee as well when it comes to unnecessary expenses. And then just to say that it is a summit that is part of the legislation. We are members of parliament and lawmakers, and I mean, if we are not going to take accountability for even upholding the laws that we pass and seeking answers as to why summits are cancelled at last minute, then I don't think we'll be doing our job very effectively. So that would be my input, that we actually do get more clarity on the reasons for the cancellations. And if it's maybe not a cancellation and a postponement, I mean, that's also something that the minister then needs to communicate. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you so much, Honorable Abrams. I take it those are the hands, and I will obviously then, as the Honorable Ramaila said, carefully just communicate with the with the Honourable Minister, as obviously it is a constitutional sort of provision for this meeting, for this summit to happen. It's not a nice to have, it's not a creative idea by the CDA, it is in the law. So yes, I will have that discussion with the Honourable Minister as we have discussions about many other things. As I'm very mindful, and because I wouldn't want anyone to overreach into my function, so I will do that with the care and that it actually deserves. So, honourable members, thank you so much for your indulgence, and thank you so much for your patience. Thank you so much for your contributions in this process. As I said, we will be expecting these answers from the department so that we are within the deadlines that form part of this program of the inquiry, because I believe the end of this month is actually when it should be, the report should be available to the House, as it were. And so I thank you so much, the support for making sure that this meeting happened without any glitches, as you have been doing throughout the time that I have been around. So your efforts and your work is appreciated. So I wish you all a blessed rest of the week, and obviously we will see one another in the sitting this afternoon. For those who will be attending the sitting this afternoon, will then use all the powers vested in me to declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.